All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We can do a little bit better than that. Good morning, everybody. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Thank you for sticking around and coming to our SelectUSA Spinoff event. To kick us off this morning, we've got a few welcome remarks before we get into our panels. So I'm going to turn it over to President and CEO of the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, Derek Ford.
Well, once again, good morning to everyone and welcome to Washington, D.C. What a great city, and we're so happy to have you here. We definitely want you to move your business, locate here, and use those minds for innovation. I was at an event earlier today, and innovation is this month. Isn't Corey? Isn't May Innovation Month? Yes. So let's be innovative. First of all, I want to thank Kat, who has just been promoted to Vice President of International Affairs. So let's give her a round of applause. I thought this was the most appropriate time to give her the promotion since she's doing all this work, making everybody look good. And I want to thank Ms. Johnson. I saw Ms. Johnson earlier, so thank you. But let's get back to what we do here at the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. What we do is we do a business attraction, retention, expansion. So in essence, we want to get you here, we want to keep you here, we want to help you grow. Those are the main factors of what we do here. Number two, we market this great city. So we market to companies not only internationally, local, right here regional. And sometimes we have to fight hard regionally because it is a good, healthy competition here. I was just talking to Ms. Williams here about her expansion into Virginia. Now, of course, we love that she's in D.C., but we know you have to grow as well. But just keep paying your taxes in D.C. That's what we really want. And number three, we still are very much involved in neighborhood and retail development. When we started 25 years ago here at the partnership, we was really focused on retail because of neighborhood amenities. When you think about neighborhoods, you're bringing 100,000 new residents here. You need grocery stores, you need drug stores, you need cleaners, you need all those type of apparatuses to help make a neighborhood grow. And next thing you know, you have livable neighborhoods that grow into other communities. When you think about what happened in 2020 with COVID, what we realized was the community west of the White House, all those buildings didn't have a nighttime population. People weren't living there. So the Mayor Bowser, decided, hey, let's focus on these areas so we can create another neighborhood here. And that's how this city continues to grow, because when you bring your business here, we want you to live here. Actually, that's how we can tax you. You got to live here. So we want you to live here. We want you to be able to grow with your families and have generational wealth. So with that said, welcome to this event. Please let us know if you need any assistance, because we want to do everything we can to keep you here and help you grow. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Derek. And we're going to now invite up April Redmon, who's the Director of the U.S. Commercial Service with the Department of Commerce. April, over to you.
Good morning. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of the Washington, D.C., your Global Gateway to Innovation event. My name is April Redmon. I have the privilege of serving as the U.S. Commercial Service Director for Washington, D.C., and representing here today SelectUSA. It's an honor to be with you. I would like to thank our host, the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, for convening this SelectUSA spinoff event. SelectUSA's mission is to facilitate job-creating business investment into the United States. Our team serves economic development organizations from all over the country and international companies that are looking to enter the U.S. market for the first time or expand their operations. Since 2011, SelectUSA has assisted tens of thousands of clients, facilitating over $400 billion in client-verified investment, supporting more than 270,000 jobs across the United States and its territories. SelectUSA supports international companies in making informed investment decisions by providing unbiased data and practical resources at no charge. As you consider expanding your business to the United States, we can offer counseling and tailored reports on industry clusters, supply chains, workforce, operating costs, and logistics. We also work with our U.S. embassies and consulates to host SelectUSA roadshows and conferences where you can meet directly with U.S. economic developers. Our year-round efforts to attract and facilitate FDI come together at the SelectUSA Investment Summit, the U.S. Department of Commerce's premier event to bring business investment to the United States. As you know, the 2026 SelectUSA Investment Summit just took place from May 3rd to the 6th at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland, located just across the river from Washington, D.C. The 2026 Investment Summit holds a special significance this year as it coincides with the celebration of America's 250th birthday, a milestone that highlights the enduring strength, resilience, and opportunity of the U.S. economy. The 2026 SelectUSA Investment Summit showcased how foreign investment continues to shape the next chapter of American innovation and growth. SelectUSA Spinoff events are an important part of the SelectUSA Investment Summit. Today's Washington, D.C., Your Global Gateway to Innovation event provides an important platform to connect with local partners and get a closer look at the region's investment landscape. I hope that you will take every opportunity to make connections here today and gain insights that will help guide your future U.S. investments. Before closing, I want to highlight that SelectUSA and my colleagues at the U.S. Commercial Service, including the one here in Washington, D.C., stand ready to assist you in identifying the right U.S. location in the United States. Thank you for the opportunity to join you today for what I know will be an informative and exciting day in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and a dynamic hub for innovation and commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, April. And then Corey Griffin from the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Kat. I am Corey Griffin. I'm the board chair of the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. And just a little bit of history on why we exist, particularly for our visitors here. What is now the D.C. Chamber of Commerce once was the Negro Chamber of Commerce. And so you might not know that D.C. had a significant population of African Americans here in years past. And that's changed significantly over the last few decades. But we're very proud of the fact that as a result of that high population, had some of the highest concentrations of black-owned business in the District of Columbia. And since the demographics have shifted over the decades, we don't have as robust of a black business economy. But my job, along with my colleagues, is to help to restore that and bring us back to the moment where we were very proud. I often talk about the fact that there's an article written by Tucker Carlson about the black bourgeoisie. And in that article that he wrote, or that paper he wrote, he noted there were some 400 black-owned businesses in a 40-block radius in the Shaw community. The stark difference is that you might have to approach at least 2 or 3 wards across the District of Columbia to find as many businesses. So we're proud to be here to help to continue that great legacy. Again, I'm Corey Griffin. I want to begin by thanking Derek Ford at the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership for your support and your engagement on this issue and for helping to set the stage for this conversation today. We appreciate your leadership and your continued commitment to strengthening the international business relationships here in D.C. And to our international guests, as someone who's traveled to 71 countries personally, I love to see folks from around the world. It reconnects me to those glory days when I was spending most of my time on airplanes. We're honored to have you here and excited about the opportunities that lie ahead as you explore doing business in D.C. and in the region. Washington, D.C. is more than the nation's capital. It's a global gateway to the United States. It is the political capital of the world, many would say. And we enjoy, I think, a very unique position in the District of Columbia because we play host to embassies from all over the world. And not every major city in the United States has that distinction. And so we very much feel like an international city, and we think of ourselves as a gateway. The district continues to experience dynamic growth and investment across key industries that drive both innovation and economic expansion. At our core, we are anchored by the government, the seat of the federal government, but we are also rapidly evolving into a tech and AI, hospitality, and tourism sector. We saw 24 million visitors last year in the District of Columbia. All sectors that offer significant entry points for international business, including our embassies. The message is simple. DC is open for business, and we welcome you. At the Greater Washington, D.C. Black Chamber of Commerce, we play a critical role in connecting that global opportunity to local access. Our chamber operates as a bridge, linking international companies, entrepreneurs, investors to the networks, institutions, and decision makers that help businesses establish and scale successfully in this market. We've got great capital. We've got EDs and we have MEDs, education institutions and medical institutions that are world class. In the international arena, we have led and participated in trade missions, facilitated cross-border partnerships. We recently returned last fall from a trip to Ghana and Morocco. For me personally, I hadn't been in Morocco in 20 years or so. I was amazed. Lots of growth happening there. They call themselves the gateway to Africa. And so we were there connecting our members with the business community in Ghana and in Morocco. And those efforts are designed not just to make introductions to businesses to DC, but to embed them into a thriving and supportive ecosystem. So we are there to help market the District of Columbia as part of our partnership, a collective partnership with those that are on the slide there. That's exactly why the soft landing program is so important. Being a part of this program is more than an introduction. It is a strategic entry point into the region's business community. It provides access, guidance, and connectivity that can accelerate your ability to operate effectively in the region and in the new market. And that's where the chamber comes in. We often say that chambers are the great connectors, and that is exactly the role we play and we desire to play. We create intentional opportunities for engagement through networking events, curated receptions, sector-based programming. We provide direct access to local dignitaries and our elected officials, agency leaders, both on the local level and on the federal level. That's also the privilege of being here, thus our work with Ms. Redmon. Our goal is to ensure that we enter this market and that you enter the market and you are not navigating it alone, but you have help. You have help with partners like the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. You're supported by a network that is invested in your access. It's what we do for a living, and we're also invested in your success. So today is more than just a conversation. It's about connection. It's about building relationships that can translate into real economic opportunities. We're excited to work alongside each of you and support your journey here in the District of Columbia. And then finally, I'd like to extend our sincere thanks to our partners who make this work possible. Our DC International Business Collective members, those are on the slide there, including the Department of Small and Local Business Development, who's an amazing partner for us. Our Department of Planning and Economic Development, which is the Deputy Mayor's Office for Economic Development, who provides a great deal of support for the work that we do and have demonstrated a real commitment to ensuring that we have resources to do this work. And of course, my good friend Derek with the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, who, as he said, is our lead ambassador in helping to attract amenities and retail here to the District of Columbia. I'll be with Derek in Vegas next week, and whatever happens there will stay there. So that's a thing you can take with you. And then, of course, the Golden Triangle bid. Our bids are so important for us in the District of Columbia. If you're not familiar with the bids, they really operate as these small operators that focus very specifically on a dragnet of streets and blocks to help those areas to thrive and to make certain that they're clean and they're safe, but that also they're vibrant with activity. And then finally, the DC Chamber of Commerce, again, really proud to be partners with them and our partners at the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber. Your collaboration and shared commitment continue to strengthen the DC's position as a global business destination. And we thank you for being here and look forward to working with you. Thanks.
So we're just going to run through a quick overview of Washington, D.C., just to make sure we kind of level set for the day before we hear from our great panels about our talent ecosystem here in the district, about our innovation ecosystem, as well as hearing directly from some businesses who have sat where you've sat before and joined our soft landing program within the last year. So with that, I'll go ahead here and get started. Just by showcasing a little bit of where we are. I think it's really important to ground us in the fact that here in DC, we sit right in the middle of the East Coast. And that's a really strategic advantage for you as your business. Because not only do you have access to the 700,000 people who live in DC or the 6 million people who live in our metro area, you're just a quick train ride or a flight up to New York. You're connected via both rail and flights to Boston. You can fly down to Miami. We are really the nexus and the hub for your entry into the United States. So having that advantage gives you proximity to your customers, to your partners, and really allows you to be able to find the right folks to do business with. So a little bit about DC, because we're a pretty unique proposition. So as you met with lots of folks at SelectUSA, they probably told you about how their state was the best. That's only because DC is technically not a state. If we were, we would be. And so we operate as a little bit between a city and a state. So our mayor functions as our governor, and our 13 council people function as our legislator. Now, why that's important for you to know is it provides a relatively flat structure. There's 14 people who help make a lot of the decisions here in the district. And so when you're dealing with other folks in other states, you might be going through, a city council plus the state legislator and the state house and the governor. And often those folks are going to be maybe on opposing sides and views. Here in DC, we operate in a pretty linear fashion, and that allows us to be really responsive to the business community's needs. I'll also note we are a relatively small city. So we are around 110 square kilometers, about 68 square miles. So as you're thinking about what type of projects go here, if you are coming in and saying, I want to build a massive battery manufacturing plant, that's probably not going to be the right fit. We're not going to say no. We're going to try and make it happen. But we don't necessarily focus on that. So our sectors really focus on things like technology, AI, fintech, cybersecurity, as well as Corey mentioned, hospitality and tourism, marketing and communications, business and consulting services. You can't walk down the street here without running into a consultant or a lawyer, as well as PR and media as well. And then the other thing I'll just note for you is our population. We're a relatively young population, so DC has a much higher percentage of that 20 to 34 age range compared to our partners nationally. So again, what does that mean for you? As you're thinking about the talent coming into your companies, there's a constant renewing source of talent that comes from our universities here, and that's a real key advantage as you're thinking about who you're going to be able to hire here. And to get really local, right now we sit in the Golden Triangle Business Improvement District. So you heard Corey make mention to that. Our business improvement districts really focus on the neighborhood level, on the street to street level. So I think many of you have likely noticed, wow, it's really clean here. The streets are, organized. And that's in large part due to the work that our business improvement districts do, as well as the liaisoning that they do with our direct business community. So this neighborhood is pretty special. It's the heart of the business community here in the district. And what you'll see is some really key anchor institutions as well. So folks like the World Bank, the IMF, George Washington University, all sit just blocks from where we are now. And so as you're thinking again about the global nature of your business, about the talent you'll attract, this really puts you in a key position to bring all of that close together. And then also we're just a couple blocks down from the White House, if you haven't heard of it. So a little bit about our region. So I think one thing to note as you're thinking about where you attract your business is really about, is the community going to be welcoming to your business? And at our core, DC is an international city. We have 1 in 4 members of our population who are born outside of the US. We've got 100,000 immigrant entrepreneurs who reside in this area. So as you're thinking about the ecosystem that you're coming into, what you're doing when you join a business community like Washington, D.C., is working with people who've been in your shoes before, who know how to navigate expanding a business internationally, who work globally, and also who speak your language. We speak over 168 languages here. And so I think that that's an incredibly important detail as you're thinking about how you find a community that not only can you thrive in from a business sense, but also thrive in personally and professionally. And then lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't note our embassy community here. So we have 177 embassies located in DC. So again, as you think about the global nature of your business, not only in DC do you have access to the things that make us such a thriving local economy, you also, have a gateway to the world. You can be talking with government officials from countries in Africa and Asia and Latin America all in the same afternoon. And that's a really powerful advantage when you think about how you can grow and scale your business. And so I want to just touch a little bit on our foreign direct investment. So on the screen, you'll see some of our key trading partners. If your country isn't here yet, all that means is that there's an opportunity to do some business with you. And by next year, we'll get you up on the screen. But we typically see folks like the UK, China, Japan, Germany, Israel, Korea have all really been historic trading partners for Washington, D.C. And so we will continue to invest in those relationships. But again, we really welcome all of your businesses here and are looking forward to continuing to do work together. So I think another thing you likely heard over and over again this week as you had conversations with folks is about the talent that each community has, that everyone says, we've got the best, X, Y, and Z. Here in DC, though, we really do, because we have 9 universities that are right in our backyard. So again, as I talked about how small we are for a city, that type of concentration of academic talent is almost unheard of. And these universities include, tier 1 research universities like Georgetown, George Washington University, Howard University, which is one of the nation's premier historically Black colleges and universities. We have incredible local talent and technical skills developed at the University of District of Columbia. We have one of the only universities in the world that caters to the deaf community in Gallaudet. And so what that means is that we are bringing in such a diverse pool of talent and pumping out the type of people that your business needs to thrive. And it's not just the universities that make our ecosystem special as well. So I think when many of you think about DC, you're probably thinking about the Capitol building and the White House and all of the government infrastructure that we have here. And while that is incredibly important, we also are a hub for business. We have over 19 Fortune 500 companies that are located here. And as you look on the screen, within this region, the biggest companies in the world are here. So, that's folks like Amazon, like Capital One, like Danaher, like some of our key defense contractors, such as Boeing and RTX. So as you're thinking about all of these businesses, it's not just the thriving local ecosystem. We also do have national and international businesses that grow and thrive here. And if you're serious about expanding and growing your business, that you have to have a presence in Washington, D.C. And beyond that, it's also folks who have come here recently. So we have had the largest companies in the world in the last 6 months say we're doubling down on Washington, D.C. And so that includes folks like OpenAI, NVIDIA, Anderson Horowitz, the venture capital firm, SpaceX, the University of Southern California. So across industries and sectors, folks are realizing the importance of having a presence here in Washington, D.C. Beyond our universities and our great companies, we also have global connectivity. So I think one of the things that is almost underthought of when you're opening an international business is how much time am I going to spend in the airport? As great as the Delta One lounge is, you can only spend so much time there before you go insane. And so what we want to try and do is make sure that you have the right connectivity to be able to go from where your business is now to where your business is going to be here in DC. And so at Dulles International Airport, we've got one of the fastest growing international airports anywhere in the US, continue to expand service all across the world. And chances are, if wherever you're coming from, there's likely a direct flight, heading back to you, including places like Seoul and Tokyo. So these long haul international flights, you can go direct. But don't just take my word for it. Washington, D.C. is a really special place, and many people are recognizing that. So we're one of the top 10 places here for foreign direct investment. We're one of the most educated cities in the US. We're one of the best cities for Black entrepreneurs. We are one of the best startup cities in the US. And then also, as you think about, beyond the business community, what are the things you need to thrive? We've got an incredible public transportation system here. We have, a lot of great universities and hospitals that are located within Washington, D.C. So again, if you're in that medtech space, being able to have those type of partners. As well as, if you're a sports fan, we are the sports capital. So by the end of the decade, every major sports team is going to have a presence here. So again, if you think about that 110 square kilometers I talked about, every team is going to be playing in that limit. So that's the NBA, the NFL, the WNBA, Major League Soccer, the National Hockey League, all of those folks right within our borders. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Sarah to walk you through the programs and incentives.
My name is Sarah Adams, and I serve as the Director of Business Attraction and Expansion at the Deputy Mayor's Office for Planning and Economic Development. We're the DC government agency that's responsible for developing and then implementing the Mayor's economic development strategy. Over the past several years, we have been hyper-focused on diversifying our economy, and one of the ways in which we do that is by attracting businesses to Washington, D.C. And so I'm excited to share a little bit more about the incentives and the programs that the city has been investing in to do just that. And in addition to all of the reasons that Kat just mentioned about why D.C., the thriving ecosystem, the talent, the industry, the business community, there are programs that the city is continuing to be mindful of and intentional about to continue attracting businesses like yours to DC. So the first one that I would like to highlight is, many of you have probably heard us talk about this throughout the week at the summit, but just to share a little bit more in-depth information about the program, the Washington, DC Global Soft Landing Program was an initiative that was launched a couple of years ago as a collaboration across many of the organizations that you see on the screen. So the DC Economic Partnership, the Golden Triangle Business Improvement District, DMPED, our chambers. I think this is just a demonstration of the collaboration of the city and how our partners come together to really support businesses as they're coming into the city. And that's how the program was initially designed. We understand that coming into a new market, let alone a new country, can be very overwhelming. So the intention of the program was to really support international businesses navigate that process as they're looking to come into Washington, D.C. And so some of the specific benefits of the Some of the specific benefits of the program as part of the DC Soft Landing is access to discounted, flexible co-working space. We'll actually be touring the space later this afternoon, so you'll get an understanding of what the space looks like and get a real feel and be able to visualize your business in that space. The discount is typically about 20% below what the market rental rate would be, so it really helps shave off some of those initial startup costs as you're thinking about starting your business in the city. And it's flexible terms. There's only a minimum commitment of 3 months to join the program in that space. So the nice thing about that is you don't have to commit to a 3, 5, 10-year lease. It really gives you the opportunity to enter the market on flexible terms. The other benefit of the program is that it offers access to our ecosystem of stakeholders and partners, including many of which you see on the screen, and then also through the chambers, access to their membership base as well. They have a membership made of business service providers that can support your business. So it's really about helping to facilitate those introductions and those connections to make sure that you're becoming integrated with the business community. You heard Kat say it's a very small city, but we also have that big international global feel. And so once you're here in the business community, you can really have the opportunity to have a seat at the table. One of the other benefits of the program is a dedicated resource that will support your business in business development. And so, again, that's an opportunity to help facilitate introductions to customers, partners, and other folks that you might be interested in meeting with. And he's actually here. Patrick, I told you I'd call you out. Say hi. Patrick is our support as part of the soft landing. And so, again, it's really an opportunity to help you navigate that process and become part of the ecosystem here in DC on your terms. So what's the eligibility requirements for the soft landing program? It's pretty flexible for the most part. What we're looking for is interest in relocating or expanding into DC and establishing your physical presence within 12 months, having at least one full-time staff person located in the soft landing program, having a proven ability to pay rent, and then, like I said, the flexible commitment of 3 months, being able to at least commit to the space for that term. So the process is pretty simple for the most part. It starts with an intake form and an application, and once we have that conversation with you to really understand what your growth plans are, then you'll receive an acceptance letter and you move in. So it's as simple as that. So there are a couple of other financial incentive programs offered through the city. So the Washington, D.C. Global Soft Landing Program is designed to help you physically establish your presence here. And so once you're actually here, it opens up a suite of financial incentives that you could potentially be eligible to apply for. And each of these programs are really designed around each stage of a business's growth to accommodate where you are in your growth stage. And so the first program I'll mention is the DC Venture Capital Program. That's a program that just recently launched. It's a $26 million investment fund that awards companies in the form of an equity investment. It targets early stage companies that are based here in DC. And the way that it's structured is it's a funds to funds model. So we identified a program administrator. K Street Capital is one of the is the venture capital firm that's helping us operate the program, and they in turn are selecting fund managers who will then be the entities ultimately investing in the companies. There is a matching requirement, and so it basically doubles the funds that are available to be invested to about $56 million. And so this is one of the first of its kind programs that we're offering here in DC to early stage tech companies. So we're really excited about this program, and it just gives us the opportunity to continue growing our technology and innovation ecosystem here in the city. One of the next programs that I'll talk about is the Growth Fund. So this program is really geared towards growth stage startups companies that are looking to grow and expand in DC. It is a cash-based incentive that's awarded up front, and the awards range from about $50,000 to $125,000. I'll talk a little bit more about the eligibility requirements on the following slide, but the next program I'll mention high level is the Vitality Fund. So we like to call this the bigger cousin of our growth fund. It's a performance-based incentive that's really our signature corporate attraction tool that targets companies that are really looking to make a significant capital investment and create a significant amount of jobs here in DC. And so just a little bit more about the DC Venture Capital Program. The company requirements are that they must be located here in DC. There must be about 25% of the employees working in the district. And then there has to be within our targeted industries, we're prioritizing defense, dual use, medtech, life sciences, and the investment range is about $250,000 to around $2 million. And so we went through the process of identifying fund managers as part of the process, and so we've selected 2. The goal is to get up to about 6 to 8 fund managers for the program, and so we're in the process of selecting who those additional fund managers are, and those fund managers will essentially be the entities who are setting the eligibility requirements, and we're happy to share a little bit more information about that program. But again, this is one of those programs that we're extremely excited about that just recently launched here in the city that, again, will continue to grow in the city. So the Growth Fund and the Vitality Fund, as I mentioned, are cash-based incentives that are really geared towards helping to grow and attract businesses within our target industries here in DC. The Growth Fund actually just piloted last year at $500,000, and this fiscal year we actually doubled the fund to $1 million. And so we awarded 6 businesses last year, and we're in the process of evaluating applications for this year, but the minimum eligibility requirements that we look for as part of the Growth Fund is at least having 5 full-time employees company-wide, and then a commitment to creating creating at least 5 new jobs over a period of 2 years. And so we prioritize companies in our high growth sectors. Technology is one of those high growth sectors, consulting and business services, marketing, design and communications, life sciences and health tech, education and research, and hospitality, tourism, and entertainment are the sectors that we're really looking to prioritize. But it's not a disqualifier if you don't fall into any one of those priority sectors. It's just something that we're looking to really grow in the city as part of our economic development strategy. The award ranges for the Growth Fund range anywhere from $50,000 upwards to $125,000 and is awarded as an upfront cash grant, as I mentioned. And so, again, it's really a program designed to help companies come to the district and then scale here once they're here. The Vitality Fund is a performance-based incentive, and so it's awarded in the form of a cash grant for meeting performance-based targets, which we look at as new jobs or capital investment. The types of projects that we look for through the Vitality Fund look to create about 30 new full-time employees or commit to investing at least $2 million in their space. And many of the other requirements are similar to the Growth Fund. As I mentioned, this is the bigger cousin of the Growth Fund. So there are similar requirements in terms of the priority sectors and some of the community benefits that we look for as part of the program. The awards are determined really by the scale of the project. And so, as I mentioned, we look at the new jobs, the capital investment, what the overall fiscal and economic impact will look like to determine what that overall award amount will look like. And it's awarded once those new job targets are met. And so, we've had about 12 participants in the program. This year, the fund is around $6 million. And so there's no maximum to what the award amount could look like. It's really, again, just dependent on what the total project size is. And so, in addition to the incentive programs, there are a library of resources that are available through the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. Feel free to reach out to Kat for more information about what those programs could look like, and I will hand it back over to her to close us out. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to invite our first panel to join us, Talent Hotbed Spotlighting Washington, D.C.'s Talent Ecosystem. So the panelists, feel free to come on up.
We're really excited to kind of speak a little bit about how amazing Washington, D.C. is. My name is William Lopez. I'm actually an entrepreneur, and I started a tech company here in Washington, D.C. Actually, right across the street is where our offices used to be. And I'm sorry, Golden Triangle, we just moved to another bid, but hopefully you don't punish us for that. But we have a tech company called Build Within, and we do workforce innovation. And so if you're looking to do or develop or establish yourself here, one keynote I'd like to make sure that we highlight is there's an amazing ecosystem of tech talent. And one of the things that's really driving that innovation are the individuals that are up here as well. And so to get us started, I'd love to just go through everyone. If you can just say your name, the organization you're with, and the work that you're doing. We'll start with you, Maria.
Good morning. Oh, wait a minute. Good morning. Okay, that sounds better. I'm Maria Bird. I am the Vice President for Innovation and Transformation at the University of the District of Columbia. Very glad to be here, and thank you for having us.
And I'm Natalie Hope Haddon. I'm the Executive Director of GW's Center for Excellence in Public Leadership. So we're focused on leadership and management training, but we also are part of GW's College of Professional Studies. And so we're able to do very quick startups of skills-based leadership and other kinds of development work. So that's our
And real quickly, GW stands for?
The George Washington University. So we were started because of a gift by GW, by George Washington, to the nation's capital to establish a university that would make citizens of the nation instead of citizens of the states.
It's working. Hi, Clara Botstein. I'm Chief of Staff at the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Education. So we're essentially the advisors on education and workforce to the mayor. And we oversee the public school system, the university, Maria's university, Department of Employment Services, which you'll hear about. So basically, and then Parks and Rec. So all the fun stuff, libraries, anything about our city's cradle to career, we're involved with.
Yes, and I'm Kenneth Walker. I'm Deputy Director of the aforementioned Department of Employment Services, big acronym city in DC. So DOES, Department of Employment Services, is that acronym. And long story short, my job is to get people jobs. So this conversation today with all the employers in this room and how we develop workforce strategies and develop talent pipelines, I'm so happy to get in that conversation because that's the work we do day in and day out at DOES.
Perfect. We're going to go ahead and jump right back in. So I'm going to start with you, Kenneth, all the way at the end and then come this way. What makes DC's talent ecosystem uniquely competitive compared to the U.S., to other U.S. cities and states?
Great, and I think when I heard Kat's presentation, she did a lot of the hard and heavy lifting for me as I prepared for this question. And I think that there was a great stat around the local Golden Triangle bid. But if you parse that out all the way to Washington, D.C. as a city in our existence, you know, you will go and see national data, and we'll always fall in the trend of 60 to 65% of our residents having bachelor's degrees, right? And then 1 out of every 2 people having a graduate degree. And you're not going to see that in like no other place. And then we sit at the intersection where we do have federal government, local government, hospitality, tourism, IT, innovation. You know, we have big policy type foundations, and like that's not going to be seen any other place, whether that's New York, Philadelphia, all these other places that we visit and speak to. So it's just amazing. And I will say something about our talent here too, and like also to another one of Kat's points, our ability within our government system here, operating as a city, allows us to remove a lot of the red tape as me being a representative of local government to get things done, right? Being somebody that formerly worked in Philadelphia, formerly worked in New York City, the ability to move the public dollar to support workforce strategy is much quicker here in DC so that we can get into a real conversation with employers and say like, hey, you know, what do you need right now? And I'm able to push that needle forward and much faster than I've seen from other city peers. So in the context of workforce development, not only do we have a very educated and experienced talent pool, they are doing some very, very important stuff in terms of the things, the complex issues they're trying to figure out. And then being a representative of state government, I'm able to support that in a much faster way than I've been able to see with some of my peers.
Yeah, that was well said. So being the, top educated workforce is great. I think as you're thinking about your companies, just the way that Silicon Valley attracts tech entrepreneurs, DC brings people who really want to improve the public good. So dedicated, passionate, hardworking folks who are really purpose driven. And so their skills really cut across all the things. So operations, policy, analysis, communications, anything in like a professional services capacity, we have it here. And so I think it's a great workforce. It's also a regional workforce. So when you come to DC, you have Northern Virginia, suburban Maryland. You're drawing from a great, talent pool and great universities, which I'm sure we'll hear about. But yes, I would say the skills, as AI increasingly takes over, we hear employers saying, and you can tell us, like the human skills actually matter. So good judgment and empathy and teamwork and things like that. So that's really what our workforce is all about.
And I would echo all of that. And speaking as a representative of George Washington University, our students, our undergrads come to learn, but they so often want to stay as well. And so you've got young people who are just ready with all the latest knowledge in the world, who are excited, but you also have experienced professionals who have been around for a while and who really do cut across different disciplines and so on. And I think the universities here are really sort of focused on flexibility, innovation, responding to changing circumstances. That's the start of my center 30 years ago, was because the DC government was in crisis at that point, and they said, let's put together something that will help DC government employees learn to be more effective and to expand their skill base. And that's still the case now. And we have, again, people who have such diverse experiences, both in terms of where they come from, what they know, and how they apply that in the work that they do.
think it's so fitting universities are here at this point of the discussion because we train the individuals that go to work, right? We train those individuals you'll be hiring in the workforce, and noting that DC, as it's been said before, it's a very regional area. So the university obviously is heavily focused in DC on district residents and the District of Columbia area residents as well. And so we really do, as we noted, and Kenneth was very clear to state that we have the highest matriculation of bachelor's degree earners really anywhere in the country. And one of the things that we've identified is as we at the University of District of Columbia have looked at this pipelining approach. And so while we note that bachelor's degree, associate's degree earners are extremely important in our workplace, we also understand that there are certificate degree earning individuals as well. And so what we've decided to do is really take a workforce innovation approach. AI, obviously, it's here, it's coming, it's growing, it's moving very fast. Bill Within obviously has a great amount of expertise and work in the AI space and training individuals. And so we're really going to capitalize on some of those short certificate programs that are also allowing individuals to move right into jobs very quickly, understanding that skill-based education is extremely important as well. And so looking at how we can really embed our curriculum and our competencies from a two-way street. And so we're looking for employers to also give us insight on what are the needs. Like, while someone might walk in the door with a great degree, what do you need to make sure that on the education lens, they're learning in the classroom so they can start day one in the workforce, at the job, ready to go and moving forward, noting that analyst jobs are ever evolving and really there's a shrinking number of those. And so how do we make sure our students are prepared to walk into jobs that might not be traditional entry-level positions? So training and making sure that we educate those individuals that will be working in companies and corporations like yours.
That's great. Clara, I'm going to start with you, and then feel free for anyone to jump in. But how are universities, district government, the workforce agencies collaborating to anticipate the skills employers will need over the next decade?
Yeah, well, I'm going to shout out your company, Will. So we have an initiative which might be relevant to you all. It's called Talent Capital. You can access it at talentcapital.ai. And basically, it's a regional talent marketplace. And Kenneth has been really involved as well. But it connects job seekers. We have about 83,000 of them. Some are displaced federal workers, but many are just job seekers, to actual jobs. So the AI tools scrape the job board. So if you have a job currently open in the region, it's on the site. And it creates matches. So it's easier as an employer, you can identify a set of 3 great candidates if you choose, and it also connects folks to training. So we have, as a result of this website, a really good sense of what are the jobs, what are the skills in your postings, and then we can align training. So as part of this, we worked with DOES to actually include GW, which offered project management certification training. So we have a lot of project managers in government. Not all of them had this specific certificate. So we were able to use public dollars to get those folks trained. And there's similar examples in tech. So I think really trying to be data-based. We're also trying to lean into apprenticeships. The more you can tell us what you need, the better we're able to provide the training. So I think we'll talk about this later, but we've got a great kind of model partnership with Accenture. And so we're trying to be as data-based as possible. This might be a bit wonky for you all, but we have a new data system that actually tracks what happens to people once they leave education and training. So we're using that to say, okay, are our programs actually aligned to what you all need? And at UDC, we found for the bachelor's program, 80% are. So we're constantly adjusting, but we always can use more employer voice. But talentcapital.ai, I'm sure we'll hear more, but could be a good tool for you.
I'll also chime in on that. Speaking it from a startup and entrepreneurial lens, in addition to what Clara just mentioned, I also wanted to make note, and I thought Clara was going to say this when she mentioned Talent Capital, because for months we were saying front door, front door, front door. Talent Capital is a front door for the federal displaced worker. But I would also want to represent DC as a front door for employers, right? I think one thing that you will find very different from our city is that when I prepared for this panel and I saw all the names, I said, I know all those people because we work day in and day out. So for the entrepreneur, the startup, the business, you might often be in cities where you have to have this conversation to move the same needle, where we are already operating in tandem, in team, and effort. You're going to hear a lot of collaboration type ideas to where it's like you can meet with Claire and there's like a direct pipeline to Kenneth, there's a direct pipeline to Maria. You get build within. So I think in the context of where you see some of that collaboration happening, we don't really work in silos here in DC because we're so small, we're so concentrated, we're all connected, and we are making very wise decisions around the dollars that we have both federally and locally to move businesses forward. So I also wanted to stress that point in terms of collaboration, that we get to the finish line much quicker. I don't want you to have 10 conversations, right? I want us to have one really good one, and how do we move forward with that? And I think that you'll see some testament to some of that as well today.
I think one thing, Kenneth, if you can touch on it a little bit more about the Capital Workforce Innovation Consortium. And so for many of you here, you all are probably like asking the same questions that I would ask, or I ask, which is like, do I have access to the people who are making the decisions as to whether or not I'll have the talent pipeline to do that? Can you talk a little bit about that, Kenneth?
Yeah, and that was an initiative really driven by our director, Dr. Unique Morris Hughes, who is also an innovator, collaborator, trailblazer, renegade as well. But they, on an annual basis, Department of Employment Services, we're responsible for 9 figures worth of federal and local workforce education and training dollars. And sometimes those decisions are made in a vacuum. We think we know what's best, all right? Our residents need this training program. We need this. And what's often missing in that conversation is the employer. Right? And we sat back and thought like the employer actually needs to be the start of that conversation, because we need jobs and we can't do that without the employer. So we wanted to create a mechanism, a forum, a space to where we can often engage with our business community. We can hear voices from the business community and saying like, no, this is exactly what we need, right? This is where existing training programs aren't making sense. These are the skills that we see significant gaps in when we try to go out there and hire. These are the issues that we see around diversity and reach with what we're experiencing. So like empowering our employers to be at the table with us was a very important point. So we built this Capital Workforce Innovation Consortium, seeking out employers from the businesses that have been here, our skilled trade areas, people that were historic and true, but also the new blood and the new energy to kind of understand like, if we're responsible for steering these dollars in workforce education and training, how do we steer it the right way? What's on the horizon? What do you guys see? And that has put us in a position to where now we've built like this big, consortium that only includes employers, but includes like our school partners, right? It includes startups that have already been through this. It includes our training providers. So now that we're working together to build that ecosystem through the Capital Workforce Innovation Consortium, we've been able to experience some first here in Washington, D.C. For example, we are the nation's first registered apprenticeship program in data AI annotation. The Workforce Innovation Consortium, we're also able to use that as a mechanism to provide funding directly to startups to grow apprenticeship-based programs and other education and training programs. So it has really become like a real big strategy with what we do at DOES, but also like what we do within the city as a whole. In all of that, I am hopeful that you understand that where I live and how I work and how I get things done, I have to do that with the people in this room first.
Thank you, Kenneth. And then this is actually a really good segue, and I'm going to start with you, Maria. I'm going to jump around here a little bit. But what are the most in-demand skills you're seeing across industries, and how is the district preparing residents to meet those needs? And so Maria, Natalie, and then Clara, I'd love for you to answer.
This is a really great question as it relates to, because on the education end, one of the things that we are really working hard on is being flexible, as GW has mentioned, and being flexible and being workforce responsive. And that is key and critical in this ever-changing and evolving global economy that we're in. Claire teased up Accenture, and we're really happy with the partnership, as that was a workforce responsive approach. Kenneth mentions getting things done quickly. You won't believe it, but that partnership happened in 6 months. We went from discussions around needing to have a DC Tech Hub, which the DC Tech Hub was training individuals in cybersecurity. There was a major need for cybersecurity technical individuals. And so we went from that discussion 6 months earlier to 6 months later having our first cohort of 50 individuals placed in our old Congress Heights building, where they were able to become apprentices, making $60,000 a year, learning how to become cybersecurity technicians. And now we have over 35 of those individuals have been placed at Accenture for full-time jobs. And so that's the type of speed that we're able to do. So in now a year and a half, we've taken individuals, and there's actually a story that Claire and I were provided yesterday around a woman that was a SNAP recipient. All of her income was coming from public assistance. And now she's able to move into a career where she's able to remove herself from that public assistance. So this is, as Clara and as Kenneth have mentioned, the public good component. There's a public good component while also meeting the needs of the business. And I think that's what's very unique about the District of Columbia, is that we're able to address public good while also informing and being able to be a part of and building that business ecosystem.
And I think one of the things that GW has done recently and through the College of Professional Studies is to set up something we call RevU. The GW are revolutionaries. And so RevU is a learning platform for continuous learning, but it also is a way in which we work with industry partners to say, what are the workforce needs that you have, and how can we set up non-credit offerings, whether that's a micro-credential or whether it's a longer certificate program that can help us help you have the skills in the workforce that you need. And it's university-wide, so we can draw on all 10 of GW's schools and colleges, along with other the expertise of our faculty and so on, to respond quickly. And we don't have quite the 6-month example that I can share with you there, but it's very quick. And for example, one of our first micro-credentials was in the Seaburn area, so looking at chemical and other kinds of hazards. That's very much a part of Homeland Security here in the U.S. as well as cybersecurity. And so we look at all sorts of different opportunities in what our industry partners are saying. Hey, we need this. AI is, of course, the current big push, switching from cybersecurity, which was big previously. It still is, but a lot of that work is now being done through AI. And so helping people adjust to this new part of what it will take to be successful as an employee in the future is one of the focuses that we have right now.
Yeah, so I mean, probably no surprise to any of you, but this region's had a slightly rough year economically. We lost over 100,000 jobs. So we are an eds, feds, med city, but federal government is our anchor employer, and I'm sure some of you are interested in this area because of that. But what it means is that a lot of people are pivoting, right? So you have a very educated workforce, a lot of folks who thought they were going to stay in the government for a long time, and it's a really wide range of skills, right? So it's not monolithic, and we've been working to help people kind of reposition, translate what they've done, all that. But pretty much every type of talent you could want is there. So I think the challenge is just making those connections. In terms of the economy here, as Kenneth said, we're very eager to have more startups, more tech. Healthcare is the biggest growth sector right now. So we have a huge demand for folks in the healthcare field. Engineering and skilled trades, education, communications, professional services, these are all big industries, but healthcare does lead. And just to piggyback on what Maria said, if you're interested in coming here, one, there's a lot of talent looking for work that probably has a skill set aligned to what you need. So that's thing one. And thing two, if you're interested in young talent, I know a lot of people are scared of people under 30. Maybe some of you are under 30, but it's like, what is this new workforce? So we actually create partnerships to help train up high school students so you can test them out, they can gain work experience, and then you can hire them. We may touch on this later, but just to give you one example, we have a program that's actually co-located with hospitals and healthcare clinics where students are getting college coursework in high school, certifications that are in demand, like a certified nurse assistant. They're doing paid internships so the hospitals see what they're like, and then they can be hired through an apprenticeship. So if you're coming here and you're interested in free talent, because we pay for those interns, that's the kind of partnership we can stand up. So there's adult talent, really experienced talent, and there's young talent. But yeah, I would say skill-wise, we've really got it all.
That's great. Kenneth, I'm going to go with you. One thing that's probably on top of mind is sort of like, as you're thinking about Washington, D.C., I'm going to come here, but I might not have the employee base or the individuals that are coming in. Kenneth, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, the work that you all are doing at the Department of Employment Services for employers or companies that are looking to move into the district. How do you support those employers, retain, and even recruit at sometimes for those positions that they may have open?
Yeah, and we know scaling is a very important piece of the lifeline of any business, and as much as I talked about being a talent pipeline connector, at DOES, we really view ourselves as workforce strategists, right? So there's a lot of opportunities and availability that we would have at DOES to support thinking through your strategy of what does a 1-year scale look like? What does a 3-year scale look like? Clara just made note of the quote unquote free talent that we're able. DOES makes a lot of significant investments into internships, fellowships, wage reimbursement programs, on-the-job training, work experience programs. We have seen that be very effective tools, right, for two different reasons. first for the talent pipeline, getting them to a place where they are able to develop skills, experience, and train to the specifics of the employer that they're going to be at. We've seen incredible return on investment on that, right? Like I can put them through any type of, like, let's be simple here, some customer service role that is generalized. But if that customer service role is specific to your organization, right, that is going to be somebody that is able to contribute faster, that will stay faster, and you'll see that return on investment. So DOES has been willing to, upfront some of those costs at the prospects that, we would eventually continue to work with you to where you're a place to like onboard that some person in an unsubsidized format long term. For our employers, this is a partnership, right? We want you to grow. We want you to be prosperous. We want you to get to a place that when you're bringing other people, you think of DOES first. So us being able to show that value at the onset is something that is very important to us, and something that, we really think through with very, very, very methodically. I would also say that this is a note. I think that, one of my favorite words, because that's where I started off this workforce development work, has been around apprenticeship. And what we have really did in the district is like really, really accelerated our apprenticeship system. We've done all this research. I'm sure that some of you guys know like about the impact of apprenticeship on our on our traditional trades, the skilled labor, the construction, all those different things. Where in the last 5 years, we've really doubled down on the same concept, but focusing on our non-traditional sectors, the tech places, the healthcare places, the hospitality sectors. Why it's attractive to me as a person as responsible for both local and federal workforce performance is that we start with the job first, right? Nothing else in my workforce development arsenal is do I start with the job first. It's a pathway to a job. It's training towards a job. It's experience with a job. It's not actually full-time employment. Apprenticeship is, right? So we have put in a lot of dollars to like help companies, non-traditional ones, develop apprenticeship programs, whether that is paying for 6 months of salary up front, whether that's to pay capacity building efforts to develop an apprenticeship program, receiving technical assistance from our apprenticeship office to kind of think through what this might mean. We issue competitive grants. That is actually the single dollar amount of spending within my bureau that I'm utilizing this year. So grant opportunities, whether it's pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship in this sector, capacity building apprenticeship wage. So, that has been also a way which we have really helped the startup community to get somebody that is your person, that you can train them in your way, and you receive the help from us to develop the on-the-job training, related technical instruction, the mentorship piece. So that has been something that has really gravitated and taken off here in DC. And actually the first way I met Mr. Lopez and Build Within. Yeah.
All right, we're going to make it a little bit fun. So we're going to, last two questions, right? And this is for everyone. If you had to describe the DC talent pipeline in one word or phrase, what would it be and why? We'll start with you, Maria, putting you on the spot.
Mavericks. And I say that because I think that those in the DC talent pool have to be so innovative, so inventive, so flexible, kind of strong, courageous, bold. So I just think Mavericks really kind of describes, you're going to get someone that, comes in the door ready, and is able to kind of take on the world, for lack of a better term.
I'm going to go with GW's moniker, if you will, of revolutionary. Everything that Maria said, and they're so excited and willing and capable, and particularly willing to flex, to learn, to be open to the challenges that the current circumstances here in DC specifically, but also here in the greater metropolitan Washington region, because there's such a rich diversity, and they're open to doing what's new and exciting and creative.
Yeah, I'll probably echo this. I mean, I would say resilient. I would on the government side, and we're definitely not just government, but sometimes government workers get a bad rep. But it's some of the most innovative, creative, hardworking people. And this has definitely been a year of pivot, and people have, like anyone who's still in DC has figured out a way to make it work, and just incredible resilience, adaptability, which frankly are kind of what you want as the economy's changing, AI is coming. We don't really know what it means. So yeah, I'd say resilient.
Yeah, they took all the good words. So let's go with determined. And this is crazy because like a little bit of personal thing here. I'm like sitting back like, well, heck, I might be in a talent pool in a few months. We're going through a mayoral election. A lot of appointed positions, are on the chopping block perhaps, and so that trickles down to people like me. So what I mean by determined is that like as I kind of think through that, I put me in a place where like I see the people that I see day in and day out, where they say, you know what, I got to brush up on my skill set. I got to get more credentials. I got to get this education. I got to get experience. Even if I don't get paid for it, I'm just going to take it on. So like I see so many stories about that day in and day out about like people here in DC that are just trying to better themselves so that they can be competitive because it's so competitive. I just love the determination and hustle of like the talent pool that I see here in DC. It makes me push myself, say like, do I need to pick up another master's? Do I need to pick up this certification? Do I need to do this? So there's a very determined crop of people here that is eager to contribute.
And so one last question. What's one moment in the last year that made you think, this is why DC's talent ecosystem is special? We'll go the other way around, kind of.
I didn't get time to think about it, man. I would actually say, like Clara mentioned that we've been ground zero for the federal layoff, shutdown, all of those different things. And I remember one story about a woman that would call me. I was like, how did she even get my number? Like, call me nonstop. There was this very specific certification that she was interested in that I was not able to offer because, like, all those things had to be on a list, EDPO. We won't go into all that. I couldn't pay for it, right? So she was like, week would call me. I was like, let me figure some things out. 3 weeks passed by. She's like, forget it. I figured it out. I was like, well, what you mean? She was like, oh, I cut on the Uber. I did this. I picked up like 5 different side hustles. I came up with $4,000 in like 2 weeks. I was like, dang, that is crazy. Right? That is crazy because it just showed like how eager people are to be like, I need this to be competitive, and I will make that happen. And what I heard from that story, what it put me in as a person that is a public servant, it said like, I don't want anybody to be in that position again. So we need to figure out ways in which we can open up our training pool to where I can offer those type of certifications that people have listed. And based on her, we are now able to offer that certification. So I'm excited. And that's one story that resonated with me because it was a resident that said, you know what, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to make it happen. And she got there.
It's a great story. Let's see. I would say, so when the Doge economy happened and a lot of people were out of work, we started this talent capital initiative with lots of partners around the region. And one of the things that happened is we discovered all these partners. And these were companies that were founded by displaced workers. So I'll give one example. A fellow from USAID, he started a coaching company. It's called Grounded Idealist. They now coach thousands of people. They did it basically for free or $50. Now we're paying for it for free. But that was just a company. It stood up in a matter of days, weeks, something like that. And one of the offshoots was also a public service incubator. So if you want to do a startup with something with public good, could be a theater company or whatever, they stood that up as well. And they're running cohorts to train people to launch their companies. So that was a really kind of feel good moment, making lemon out of lemonade.
And I'm going to follow up on that. I think talent AI in and of itself is one of the bright shining lights for me this year, which is where everybody in the region said, oh my gosh, we've got to do something, whether we're a university or companies or other government agencies and jurisdictions as well too. And we work a lot with the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. It's really one of their top innovations this past year. And I just think the idea to have Build Within support that and to really be the backbone for that has been great. And for us, it's opened up all these connections that we never would have found if it hadn't happened. And it's a great source for people to find jobs. And so if you are listing your jobs on there, you'll get some great people who have a lot of experience.
Well, to end here, one of the things that I think about oftentimes as a higher ed professional is the humanities are oftentimes said to be under attack. And what we see through everyone here has mentioned is people. And one of the most unique things about this city, and I think that any business should definitely take this as a core principle, is investing in people. If you invest in your people, the return on investment and the business ecosystem will grow exponentially. And so people are the core of the business, but it's also the areas, as we've listened to, individuals that have had to be resilient, have had to find ways to get back into the job market, into the workforce. And so companies investing in people is going to carry us a long way. And so as we think about, what is next, and as companies are coming to the district, understanding that the district invests in people, and that if you invest in people, you too will be able to be extremely successful in this ecosystem, in this business environment.
Well, I'll leave you all with this. As you all are considering Washington, D.C., I think you should ask the question for all those other cities, states, municipalities, regions, you name it. How does your education system, your higher ed system, your DC, your local government, your companies all work together to help identify the talent, train that talent, and help me find the right people for the roles that I'm going to have in order to scale my business? And so you see that here with all these folks. And so if we can give them a round of applause, that'd be great. And I'll pass it over to Kat.
So my name is Simone Williams. I am a founder and managing partner of Williams Global Law. We have offices in Washington, D.C., as well as Virginia. We just recently expanded to Virginia. And we focus on immigration strategies, as well as focusing on helping foreign entrepreneurs set up their business in the United States. So I have, I think you might have received a brochure with our flyer with our attorneys and what we do and what we practice. I specifically have over 20 years of practicing immigration law, where I represent thousands of investors across the world, really, Latin America, Europe, Africa, China, Asia, parts of Asia, of course, India, Hong Kong, and other places, including Canada. I'm very passionate about this work because I am a foreign entrepreneur myself. I am an immigrant. I came here as a student, an international student from Canada. My family is Jamaican, so I have that as well. I'm a dual citizen, U.S. and Canada, and basically I started here working for a large law firm and working in-house at a company. And now we're successfully running our law firm for the past 12 years. So I really understand the needs of my clients and being a foreign entrepreneur and what it takes to succeed in the U.S. And I'm also the board member and co-chair of the International Business Committee at the DC Chamber of Commerce, and I will talk a little bit more about that and how you can kind of align with chambers of commerce as you're starting out your business and meeting the right partners and so forth. As I mentioned here, general counsel for a company, worked at Baker McKenzie for 8 years, and so forth and so on. And I'm licensed to practice law in the US as well as Canada. So Williams Global Law, we specialize in a few things. Business, immigration, and visa strategy, of course. We also help foreign entrepreneurs and companies start their businesses, what they need to do to structure their businesses, what type of structure, you hear LLC, corporation. I mean, there's all sorts of types of structures to support your business, and you want to make sure you have the right structure as you're starting your business, right? We also help with advising on, who to meet and who to consult with when you're expanding, what state. Of course, we want them to locate in DC, as Kat and Sarah mentioned. And just another component of what we do is sometimes things get stuck or you have issues at the embassy, and we help with litigation and case acceleration too. So we have that component where we have strategies outside the box, kind of helping you when things get delayed, for instance. So today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to briefly touch on why you choose the United States. Obviously, you're here, and you know why you're here. And the key benefits of permanent residence for their families, because a lot of the times you're trying to expand your business, but you're also creating a path for your family, your children, and so forth and so on. We're going to talk about building a business in the U.S. and what that entails. Oops, did I not? Sorry, I thought because I have my. So those are the specialized areas, and this is the discussion point. Sorry about that. Building a business in the United States, the top mistakes foreign investors make, The foreign investor visa types, I outlined the top visas I think that this group would most utilize. So I'm going to focus on those types of visas. And then I'm going to talk about how to choose the right strategy. And then give you an overview of the foreign visa types in detail and example scenarios. And just so you know, if you're interested in getting a copy either of the presentation and or just an investor guide, how to do business and what visa strategies, please come and get my business card, or you'll see the contact information at the end, and you have to email me and request it, okay? And then I will send it to you, please. All right, so we're going on to why we choose the U.S., why global investors. Of course, you know, it's the largest global market in the world. It has the largest consumer market in the world, advanced research and development. It's the leader in research and development, ranking at the top of innovation, including DC, of course, as we know. Obviously, the fair and efficient legal system is predictable. You know what to expect. You know, it's a highly regulatory market, but that means you know what to expect. Things are not going to change midstream, and you're not going to know what's going to happen with your business. Again, business is done at ease. We offer a welcoming environment to foreign investors. Despite what you might hear, there's a lot of options for you to invest in the United States and to get the corresponding visas and the support that you need. We have a world-class workforce. A lot of happens to be in this area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And we're a major capital hub ecosystem to short-term financing and long-term investment strategies, which we'll briefly touch on that. As I mentioned, if the good thing about the U.S. immigration system is that if you are approved for a visa, that always includes automatically your spouse and all of your children under the age of 21. So they don't have to start a business, of course. Everyone is covered under the same umbrella when you get your visa. And of course, if you become a permanent resident eventually, buying and owning property, lower university fees for your children, and a lot of other benefits, which I haven't listed here. So building your business in the US is more than just a visa, okay? We're looking at entity structure, entity selection, whether it's an LLC or a corporation, or do I incorporate in Delaware? Do I create an LLC? I mean, all of this is part and parcel of you figuring out the best strategy for your business. And that's what we help with. You have own partners, and you have to decide the right strategy with your partners, drafting the right agreements. All of these things come into play, and that's why it's very important at the onset that you build a good foundation. I've been speaking with some investors here that they understand that you have to build the right foundation. You can't use Google or ChatGPT and figure this out on, these kind of systems, which are helpful, but that in this system, if you want to succeed, you have to do it right the first time, and that's why it's very important to get the right counsel. I'm going to talk a little bit about the immigration alignment, because a lot of times you're looking to invest and you forget that, I need to have a visa to do this. And nowadays, under this administration, they're very, very strict, and they're highly scrutinizing what you're doing in the US. So if you're doing things and you're accepting income and you don't have the right visa, you will be caught down the road, because they're checking everything, your history, and anything that you're doing. They have a way of finding out what you're doing, and therefore they could deny your visitor visa down the road. So it's important that you have the right working visa when you're trying to do business in the US. The execution and growth aspect, of course, I'm talking about compliance, state registrations, licensing, and obligations that you have. The contracts that we need to draft for you when you're setting up your partnerships, or you're even setting up your business, because all of the immigration component side, you have to have the right agreements in place, because again, USCIS, which is the immigration agency, they will see you as a legitimate business. And when you don't have the right agreements, which are part of the requirements, then that's when you get something called a request for evidence, and they want to really, scrutinize you further. So you just want to do everything right, like at the beginning. The market entry strategy I mentioned, obviously they just talked about workforce and who to hire and where you can hire. You want to include sometimes like the DC chamber, the other chamber affiliations to help you with, aligning with the right partners and the right industries and, getting involved because at the DC Chamber of Commerce, for instance, we actually have an international membership where you're not necessarily living here yet, but you could join the DC Chamber and align yourself with the members of the chamber. So that's very important. And that's something that, you can, again, get my contact information, send me an email if you want more information about that. And obviously the investment structuring of, depending on how much you're investing, some companies are coming and they're investing millions of dollars, right? Some are not. It just really depends. So we have to kind of figure out, and that goes into the type of visa, how much money are you actually coming and bringing to the United States. So a strong business foundation, as I mentioned here, is not optional. It is critical and necessary for you to succeed on the business side, as well as obviously the immigration side. So the top mistakes foreign investors make, choosing the wrong visa for your business model. You Google, you chat GPT, and honestly, there's a 66% hallucination rate in chat GPT when it comes to like specific advice. And that means you're getting wrong advice sometimes. So a lot of the time, when it comes to legal advice, I've noticed if I'm an attorney, I could use it because, I know what I'm talking, I understand the law, but sometimes if you don't and they're giving you information and they're telling you this and it's not how it works. So you want to make sure you have the right visa for your business model. You don't want to underestimate what's required of you from a compliance perspective, right? So you want to make sure that you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's for everything at the beginning. Because under this administration, things are a lot stricter. They are highly scrutinizing everything that you do, business-wise and immigration. So make sure that you're meeting those requirements. And that's why you work with an attorney to help you seamlessly through that. Insufficient business plans. Part of the most immigration visas actually is that you do need to have a proper business plan, right? It's not just a business plan that you created, it's one that is meeting the compliance and the requirements for USCIS, the immigration agency. So we definitely want to get you that, and we work with an amazing business plan writer to make sure that you're covered on that side. I talk about the source of funds documentation. Some investors are here and they're investing lots of money, upwards of $1 million. And if you're investing and getting something called an EB-5 visa, which I will explain a little bit, you do have to show where that money is coming from. It's not a matter of just transferring the money and putting in your account and you get your visa. That's not the way it works. It's a source of fund requirement and documentation that's absolutely required. So we'll talk to you about that if that's your plans. Finally, as I mentioned, not aligning your immigration and business strategy. You're coming in, most of you are obviously looking to do business in the US. You have to make sure that the immigration and the business are in alignment so that you're not doing something that's going to hinder you getting a visa as well, and vice versa, right? So there's a lot of other mistakes. We actually have a YouTube channel, not to plug, but that talks about all the mistakes in detail, so you could follow us on our podcast. Okay, so these are the foreign visa types in a nutshell. I'm going to just quickly go over these, and then we're going to go in them in more detail. So we have the E1 and the E2 visa. That's only for citizens of treaty countries, and I'm going to have a quick list in case you're from a treaty country. You're not eligible if you're not from a treaty country. So the UK, Ukraine, Tunisia, they're E2 countries, as a matter of fact. I know a few of you guys are from there, so that's why I'm mentioning it. They support international trade or when you're operating and developing a US business or investing in the United States, okay? There isn't a fixed minimum requirement, but generally speaking, you want to say you're investing at least $200,000 or more US. The job creation requirement, specifically for this E2 visa, it says none. That's the rule, but generally speaking, as far as practice is concerned, you actually need to at least have 2 employees that you're planning to hire in the U.S. And when I say they don't have to start working, but you have to have in your business plan that you're going to start 2 U.S. employees. So the E2 requirement doesn't actually say that, but I'm letting you know in practice, that's what's required to get your E2 approved. The EB-5 visa is that high net worth visa where the investment requirement is either $800,000 in a specific area or $1,050,000. So it's a lot, but some of you may be having, large plans to either start a business or even want to invest in a passive way, and that's one way to go to get a green card permanent residency. E2 is, as I said, non-immigrant temporary. You get that issued for 2 to 5 years maximum, and you can get it renewed indefinitely. That's the E2. It never leads to permanent residency. So just understand that if you are trying to do an E2, this will not be a path to permanent residency. And you can only get it as long as the business is in operation. I just wanted to, but the EB-5 is permanent residency. Once you get the permanent residency, you don't have to even show your business is running anymore. Because once you get a US permanent residency, that's it. The L1 visa, which I think a lot of you in the room are probably would be eligible for, is a non-immigrant visa. It's also temporary. You're coming in to either start a business and you'll be issued, well, I'll go into that in more detail. You have to be, you have to have a multinational company, right? For the L1, you have to have a company that's doing fairly well for the US to approve the L1, because you have to say that you have sufficient funds to open up a new company or partner with somebody for that matter. In fact, sometimes companies find partners in the US and are able to get an L1 as well, a successful company existing in the US. And I could talk a little bit more about that. But in any event, it's called an intercompany transfer visa. So you have to be an executive of your company in the foreign company and coming to do the same type of executive work in the US, and or you have to be a specialized worker. We could go into detail on that, and you're doing the same type of work in the US. So you're kind of transferring what you do from the foreign company into the US. Now it says investment requirement, I say none, because again, the requirement is none specifically. However, to get this visa, you do have to say that you're hiring at least 2 US employees in the US. And that doesn't include you, so that's 3 employees. And what does that mean? 3 salaries. So when you're starting your business, you have to show to the USCIS that you have the money to pay the workers, which include you. So that's why you have to have an investment. And we could talk a little bit more about that offline. I could go into detail depending on your business, how much money you would need to put in your US business account to start and to prove to USCIS that you can pay the employees that you're hiring. Okay? No. So we have choosing the right US strategy. Obviously, you could take a photo of this slide. If you are existing foreign company or an entrepreneur from a treaty company, and the types of visas that you might be eligible for. And of course, sometimes you could have a custom strategy and or be eligible for more than one. And that's why it's good to talk to an attorney to figure out which one works best for you. What is your long-term goals? What is your business long-term goals? What are your family's long-term goals? All of that. All right, so I just have a quick slide here, just an example scenario that, you're a founder of an established business, you're looking to expand, you want to relocate and spend significant time in the US, and you're considering residency options for your family. You don't know whether you should do an L1, EB-5, E2. You don't have a US entity already in the established, and you need to balance, investment level, ownership and control, long-term immigration goals, and so forth. So we kind of help you to form your US entity, of course. We evaluate the best visa options for you. We develop a compliant business plan, and the outcome, of course, is, success. You get your visa, you're able to start your business and work and have some type of long-term goal, whether you're looking to just have a business that's operational and or getting permanent residency in the US. Now I'm going to go into a little bit about the L1. As I was mentioning before, it allows, it's called an intercompany transfer visa. It allows you to, multinational personnel to transfer into the US. Either you starting your own business, it's an office, a satellite branch office of your foreign company, and or some people actually buy businesses and they structure it so there's some type of corporate relationship between the US entity and the foreign entity. So but the basic requirements really is that you're either a manager, an executive, or a specialized knowledge worker. And another requirement of this visa is that you would have had to work for the company overseas for at least 1 year. So sometimes people come and want to do this visa and they can't show that they've been working for the foreign company for at least 1 year. And if you don't have proof of payroll, you're not going to be eligible for this visa, right? So it's not, you can't just set up a company overseas and say it's only been established for 8 months, you won't get an L1 visa. You have to have an established company. The good thing is you don't have to have a nationality requirement, and there's no job creation requirement, as I mentioned, but you do have to hire employees in the US. The duration of this visa is 5 to 7 years. After 7 years, you can't get extensions anymore. However, this is a path to a green card, meaning permanent residency. So eventually, once your business is operational and doing well, you can actually transfer to a green card and supported by the same type of requirements as the L1. I mentioned the advantages. It facilitates your relocation, provides you with security, and obviously US permanent residency, and your spouses are eligible to work under this visa. The potential challenges are that you have to have a corporate linkage between the foreign entity and the US entity, and that's something that, again, we can help with in terms of if you're acquiring a business and or obviously if you're setting up your new business, that's not going to be an issue. You do have to show the 1 year requirement. That's a strict requirement. The payroll, as I mentioned, is absolutely required. It does have a high evidentiary standard. I do want to underscore that because USCIS, again, is strict. Everything is strict. They want you to come here and invest, but you do have to go through requirements. So the smaller your business is, right? If you have a smaller business, smaller capital investment, it's going to be a higher scrutiny, essentially. Because the thing is, this L1 visa has been traditionally sometimes used in a fraudulent way by some countries. So they really scrutinize, especially if you're from certain countries where there's been a high incidence of fraud, as they say, okay? Another thing I want to underscore is that when you come to set up your business, you're setting a new office here. You only get it for 1 year, and 1 year goes like that. So I just want to, you get up to 7 years, but your initial status is issued for 1 year. So in terms of all the things that we're saying you're doing, you can understand 1 year is going to go quickly. So we just have to make sure you understand all of that. So I have the example scenario here. Essentially, I think we kind of went through this, but if you don't have a U.S. office, if you need to establish a the corporate relationship is easy because if you're a foreign company, you could obviously own 100% of your U.S. office, right? I do want to talk about the fact that if you don't have a U.S. office, you can't just get a virtual office. A virtual office is not something that they like to see. You want to work with a soft landing, and get an actual office space with a lease. That's very much required. And obviously the compliant business plan. You could, again, I'm going to share this. We have to go through this a little faster. The E2 treaty country, this is for investment. Now, say you don't want to prove your foreign company, because part of the L1 visa is that you have to prove that the business is in operation and the business is making money, has good revenue, has employees, and all of these things. Sometimes you don't have that outside connection, or you don't want to prove that outside connection. And if you're a investor from a treaty country, then you would maybe do the E2 and maybe work your way to another way to get a green card. But the E2 is available only to citizens of treaty countries that are doing trade or investing in the United States. You don't have to show the foreign relationship. You don't have to have worked for the foreign company for a certain period of time. So it's a little faster. Some countries, as I mentioned, that qualify are, I think, Greece, Germany, the UK, Turkey, Mexico, Canada, of course, Australia, from Middle East and Africa, Armenia, Egypt, Iran, Israel, Jordan, Togo, and Tunisia. So those are some of the countries. Yeah, they do have that. Yeah. Here's some of the advantages. It is a fast track option to get your visa. Just an investment. You don't have to show as much as an L1 because you're not showing a foreign component. And there's all these other. I'm going to just quickly go through this because we have how many? 3 minutes. All right. Here's the potential challenges. It has to be an active business. It is treaty country restricted, of course. The principal investor has to own at least 50%. It has to be owned by 50%. So if you're from the treaty country, 50% of the company must be owned by the treaty investor. I'm just going to skip through the EB-5. How many people here are looking to understand or know about the EB-5? Can I get a quick hand? Okay. Are you interested in EB-5 or? Okay. Because EB-5 is the high net worth category where you're investing at least $800,000 to $1 million to get a direct path to a green card, which is very advantageous, and you don't have to go through, It's obviously considered an expedited way because of the high threshold. So as long as you show source of funds, you have a really clear, clean way directly to a green card, not a visa. So you don't have to go through the embassy. The green card is issued at the USCIS. That's just the way the process works. You could take a quick picture if you're interested. I'm gonna just have to skip through this and go to, okay. Potential challenges. Again, I'm happy to share this presentation as well as we have an investor guide for you. Does anybody have any quick questions about the process? All right, if you want to connect with me, you could send me an email here. You could scan the QR code and it will have a contact. We are located around the corner from this location at 17th and K. It was very. I hope this was helpful. And again, if you have questions, I'm here. If you do want to get the guide or the presentation, you have to email me, and I'd be happy to share it with you.
We're incredibly excited to welcome our next panel, which is on the DC Innovation Ecosystem Spotlight. And so I'll invite our panelists to come on up now.
I'm delighted to have this conversation this afternoon. My name is Chinyere Hubbard. I'm the president and CEO of the DC Chamber of Commerce. We are the voice of business in Washington, D.C. We represent nearly 1,000 members, small, medium, and large, across various sectors, and including tech, innovation, fintech, financial services, healthcare, and many others. So delighted to have this conversation with everyone today. And we'll first start with very brief introductions. Your name and your company.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Paige Soya. I'm the managing partner and general partner of K Street Capital. We're an early stage venture capital firm in DC that backs both funds and startups across regulated markets. So fintech, cybersecurity, health tech, things like that.
Hi, I'm Jessie Kaplan. I'm the director of our Plug and Play office in DC. Plug and Play is a venture capital firm that runs accelerator programs all over the world and all over the country.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Barlia. I'm with Station DC. We help technology companies succeed in Washington, DC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Koretsky. I wear 2 different hats. My first company is called UPace. We're a SaaS tech company supporting over 1.5 million users across the United States and Canada. And a part of that journey started DC Startup and Tech Week, which is the largest event for startups and founders and investors within the Mid-Atlantic to help connect founders at all stages and all industries to be able to grow and scale right here in Washington, D.C. And I'm also a proud mom of 2 boys who are 2 and 4.
Hello, everyone. Tatiana Litvin-Vechniak, Vice President for Technology Commercialization at Georgetown University. And we're essentially a tech transfer office that helps advance innovations and discoveries out of the university laboratories and university academic space through partnering with either existing companies or launching new companies around that. And we have lots of programming to support emerging companies, support collaboration and partnership, and we welcome collaboration with international companies as well. So I'm here supporting the university ecosystem.
Great. And collaboration, that's what a lot of this conversation is going to focus on. DC is known as definitely the world, to the world as the seat of the federal government. And recently that has shifted given the changing economy and federal workforce downsizing. But there's one built by you founders, investors every day. And we want DC to be seen as an innovative hub for innovation, a global hub for innovation. And so let's start with the big picture. What makes DC different? Not just better. James, you've built a community at the heart of DC's innovation ecosystem. And when someone asks you, honestly, why DC over Austin or Silicon Valley or Boston, what does DC offer from your perspective that other cities don't?
Yeah, sure. Actually, just very quickly, show of hands. I want to kind of gauge who's in the audience. If you're with a startup, okay, if you're an investor, if you're an operator at kind of a large company, service provider, nonprofit, academia. Okay, all right, super helpful. So there's like kind of two answers to that, and I'm going to do my best to stay brief here. One is unrelated to the like business community, and I just like, from a very fundamental level, DC is a very livable city. Super walkable, safe, clean, world-class restaurants, 5 major sports teams or 5 professional sports teams, best park system in the country, free museums, international airports nearby, beaches 2 hours away from us, mountains are 2 hours away from us, like a great education system. Like just from a like where do you actually want to live and spend time, I would argue that Washington, D.C. is like one of, if not the best and most livable cities like in the entire country and in the entire world. I also grew up here, so I'm a little bit biased. So that aside, in terms of what makes us different, like I boil it down to the people. We have a lot of very, very mission-aligned and mission-oriented people. If you think about who is coming to Washington, D.C. and who is choosing to build their career here and actually choosing to like come to school and study in university in DC, I would boil it down to people being like fundamental optimists. Like they are coming here because they want to change the world in one way, shape, or form and build a future that they believe to be much better than the future that currently exists. So it's a lot of like serious and very mission aligned and mission oriented people, which I actually think is fundamentally different from San Francisco, New York City, Boston, Austin, Chicago, wherever it may be. And that translates into our like startup ecosystem. And you look at the types of companies that are actually getting started here. And a lot of companies are being started by ex-federal workers, ex-Hill staffers. Arcadia is a perfect example of this. I know it's a portfolio company of K Street. Their founder and CEO, Kieran, worked on the Hill for a few years, identified a problem in energy and community solar, and realized that actually the way to solve this problem is not by like regulating and policy making, it's to just do the thing yourself. And so he built a company here that's now worth billions of dollars. They have acquired a handful of other businesses. And I think that's like a perfect example of a type of business that can be built in DC. And you know why the business is built here is because he showed up here because he wanted the United States to be the most energy abundant country in the world, and realized that maybe working for the federal government is not the way to make that happen. It's actually going and working in the private sector, but with the federal government. And so, you know, I think it's really the people and like the mission and motivation that brings people to DC.
And for Plug and Play, let's talk a little bit about, I had the chance to visit your offices in Silicon Valley. You're based here in Washington, D.C. Tell us from your perspective for a lot of the startups who are here in the audience, what makes D.C. a great place to start a business and scale.
So I echo everything James just said. For Plug and Play, with offices all over the country, and in places like Northwest Arkansas, or we just opened an office in New York City. Like, we have them in kind of more remote places, but also in cities. DC offers a lot. Our office is a little bit more focused here on defense and aerospace, but for the international element, it's kind of key. We have all the embassies here. We have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is incredible. Our offices overseas work with them, and I've gotten to go to a ton of their events, and it's really, really fantastic. So I think in terms of international, it's like a great place to be, because you have access to delegations coming in. You have access to the embassy, to staff there. There's a lot of events. So it's kind of the perfect place to be if you want to grow in the international market.
And for Rachel, with DC Startup Tech Week, you spent years telling DC's innovation story to a broader audience. What do you think is different, or what's evolved over the last decade from your perspective?
Well, we're going into year 11 of DC Startup and Tech Week, which is wild how fast. And I'm going into year 12 with my company, UPace, now. So I've seen such a evolution over the last 10 years. The one piece that's really stayed consistent is the amazing people. James mentioned that before, is people who are building their companies, mission-driven and impact. But the most important piece is the community and how much we're willing to help one another grow and scale. That you don't see that in other ecosystems, where one of the first questions someone asks you at an event or networking is, how can I help you? How can I help you scale? Willing to pay it forward. And you see that with the investors here, the service providers, other founders in the room. Well, we've also seen scale over the last decade and 10 years. We've seen such a shift in technology of AI, the way that we approach content, but we also seen the investor landscape shift here, the amazing work that Paige at K Street Capital has done, as well as so many investors coming and being here, and really DC becoming on the global map as the best place, in my opinion, to start and scale a company here. And I feel like 10 years ago, the reputation of DC was very much of, this is a government town, or it's only for government contractors. And now people are really seeing this is a town to build tech, whether you're defense tech, health tech, fintech, a consumer product goods company, you name it, this is the best place to be able to grow that. And I'm really seeing that. We're seeing that more on that global scale. And we're even seeing that from our attendees at DC Startup and Tech Week, where last year, close to 15% of our attendees came from around the world. We had representation from 27 different countries and all across the United States. And then we've seen that growth just happen organically. And that's something been incredible, just the knowing that DC is now becoming on the map as the place to be able to build your company.
Can I add 3 very quick points to that? So I think we've seen a lot more, period. One is investors. The investor landscape has grown pretty exponentially. I think in the past few years, there's been Ardent Venture Partners, Zeal Capital, Razor's Edge Ventures, Construct Capital. There's probably 2 times as many early stage venture capital funds that exist today as there did 10 years ago. Second is more larger tech companies have built a formal presence in Washington, D.C. So Anthropic, OpenAI, NVIDIA, Netflix, Palantir, Anduril has actually had an office here since day 0. But these large, very successful, scaled technology companies are opening offices in D.C., which brings a lot of talent to Washington, D.C. And then third is a lot more liquidity. So actually today, Hawkeye 360, which is geospatial intelligence company, went public. They're based in Reston. X Energy is a small modular nuclear reactor company that went public last week. Arcadia acquired a company last week. There's a lot more liquidity that is happening for founders and early employees and investors of Washington, D.C. based companies, which ultimately, and I think as a result of some of the work that we're all doing, is going to roll back into funding more entrepreneurs and more startups here. So we're kind of at this pivotal moment where we have a lot of momentum, and it's on all of us to link arms and start to work together to continue to drive more support and dollars into those earlier stage businesses.
And we talk about that pivotal moment, Paige, from an investor's seat. How do you describe DC's investment? I mean, James hit on a lot of what we're seeing with businesses who are moving here. But what kinds of companies are you and your peers most excited about? And what can you share with the group here?
Yeah, so Is it on? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hi. So I can say that like K Street's invested in almost 100 early stage, like seed stage startups in the last 10 years, and I think what's interesting is, you know, like Rachel, you kind of touched on this, but people, I think, often think that there's a lot of government and national security and cybersecurity stuff here, and that's kind of all there is. But ours is all across the board, so it's pretty evenly split. We even looked at it recently, what the breakout is of the companies we've looked at and the ones we've invested in, and it's really all across the map because most industries are regulated in some way, and anything that's regulated touches DC, and so we see a lot of startups popping up in those areas, and that's really exciting. And I would say like the thing that's unique and interesting is that any company that wants to be, like, the thing that's special about DC is any company that's interested or already involved in being a dual use company, like, this is the spot to do that, whether you know how to do it or you don't. Like, the connections are here to figure that out, no matter which side you started on, whether you started as selling to government only or you started selling commercially only. And I think that's kind of just from an investment perspective, you're seeing investors across the board in all of those areas looking at that. And also, I'll just mention, like, you noted, James, a bunch of the new kind of investors that are here, but just from what we know through our fund of funds program, there's at least 300 VCs in the DC area in early stage tech that I know of, that I've met, that I know. So it's probably twice that number, which is huge.
And you touched a little on regulatory issues. And Tatiana, Georgetown sits at an interesting intersection with research, policy, proximity, and global reach. So when you're looking at technology and coming out of the university, how does the presence of federal agencies here in the city shape what gets built and constructed here?
Yeah, I think, DC is just such a unique place. As a transplant to DC, I did not grow up here. I was not born here. I can say, don't tell this to anybody, but I think this is the undiscovered secret. And I'm assuming lots of people are discovering it. So there are absolutely amazing universities here. There is Georgetown University that has all sorts of different research activities spanning health tech, cybersecurity, computer science, engineering, et cetera. There is George Washington University. There's American University, Howard, and Catholic, and others. And then we all also sit in between Maryland and Virginia, and so we get the benefit of lots of collaborations that happen between our researchers and researchers at other universities and or other agencies such as NIH, NSF, et cetera. So we get the benefit of, number one, close proximity and collaborations. Number two, the talent that floats back and forth between these regions. And lots of programming that is now happening in this area that helps support the launch of new companies. Specifically at Georgetown, we have an EDA grant, Economic Development Administration, Build to Scale, and we've launched a program called Georgetown Tech Ventures, where we specifically support startups in the DC DMV area related to different technologies. We look for collaboration with our university or other universities in the area, but that's what helps support some of the tech companies that come to this area. And I think many people don't realize actually just how much research is happening in DC at DC universities.
And for companies that aren't pure tech, how can they still benefit from being part of this DC's innovation ecosystem and tech community?
So I can start. We actively encourage that at Georgetown. We want collaboration. So one of the things, if you are a tech company or tech adjacent, and you want some expertise from an academic or somebody who's done extensive research in the area, our faculty, researchers, academics are very much open to conversations and collaborations. So as a company coming here, you could establish a collaboration. You could get access through that collaboration to all sorts of amazing facilities that otherwise would not be available, and do your research and development that much faster. We also have offices like mine, technology commercialization offices that provide active support in terms of follow-on partnership, in terms of investment, outreach and network building, lots of events. We just had a research and innovation showcase that was open to the public. We had 400 people presenting. So we welcome people in our community.
Any other panelists want to also take that?
Yeah. So narrative violation for you here. Everyone's kind of concerned about the DC economy. Tourism's actually up by a couple percent this year. Washington, D.C. has an food, entertainment, consumer, retail, and hospitality ecosystem that is like almost unrivaled. Kava started here. Sweet Green was started here. Little Sesame has raised money and was started here. There's a company that raised $10 million today called Jesse and Ben's. They make beef tallow fries and sell them through grocery stores. We have a long history of hospitality, entertainment, retail, and like tourism that aren't necessarily technology like companies that have been founded and scaled here. And with that comes talent, it brings investors. And so like totally outside of the traditional like software industry or information technology industry, there is a very, very vibrant, like call it like non-tech startup and small business scene. And that's excluding like consumer technology businesses, and Consumer Technology Association is based here. Truebill, which was sold for $1 billion and was acquired by Rocket Money, is based in Rockville, Maryland. So there's like, we understand consumers very, very well in Washington, D.C. And it's no surprise that I think outside of Tokyo, Japan, I think D.C. has the most Michelin star restaurants per capita of any city in the world. So you can quote me on that, and if I'm wrong, just blame me.
And are there any misconceptions that you think that international founders have about our community here in DC? Any of you?
I mean, I guess I kind of touched on this before, but I think a lot of people think it's very, very government focused and like overly so. And I don't have a background in government. Only in the past 2 years have I had connections to the government outside of my investors. And I think there's just like a huge community that's not related to that at all in tech and venture. And I think to me, that's probably the biggest misconception.
I would just add what I was saying before about having a huge international community presence here is you have a lot of support. So if you're not affiliated with the government, you have embassies, you have the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, there's a lot going on here for international companies that give you support and a community here. We have really good international cuisine as well.
I would add a misconception that a lot of founders say, like, I have to leave DC in order to raise capital. That is something that we've seen such a shift, as James and Paige mentioned before, over the last 10 years, where like you can raise your capital here from being an early stage founder to a growth stage founder. And we've seen so many examples of founders being able to succeed in that. And we're seeing more venture capitalist investors like come to DC to look at the founders that are building here as well. So if you are looking to raise, like DC is a place that you're able to do that. You don't need New York City or Silicon Valley. You're able to do that here. And also virtual, you have Zoom. So all the conversations you could have virtually now too.
And you touched on that. And so, Paige, there's a perception that some DC investors might be risk averse and more policy oriented, less willing to take early bets than their Silicon Valley counterparts. I don't know if you would agree with that. But for an early stage founder in this room, what does a path to access to capital really look like for them?
I think. Yeah, like so interestingly, for what we're seeing, so we also manage, the District of Columbia put a ton of capital in their agenda the past few years to back startups and created the DC Venture Capital Program, which is a fund of funds that we manage to back fund managers who directly invest into DC companies. So we backed 2 managers last year that did that, Hustle Fund and Lytical Ventures. So like one path would be to look us up on our website, figure out what managers we've backed, and then those managers are actively trying to find companies in DC, and we're going to back 2 or 3 more this year, or 2 or 3 more next year, and that will continue. So I think that's just one area to consider. And also, like, the interesting thing is that we're seeing isn't a lack of capital for early stage anymore, like pre-seed and seed. We have a lot of investors here, angels and VCs here, backing companies like that. It's more at the growth stage that I think DC we're still working on, like getting that layer of like Series B sort of stage funding in DC. That's more I think making progress right now. But the early stage, it's a misconception, I think.
Mm-hmm. And James, you touched on this as a DC native. I'm also a DC native too. Can you talk a little bit more about Station DC? What does it really offer, and what role does like a physical community space play in getting somebody off the ground?
Yeah, so there are three things that we do. We have a co-working and event space. It's in Union Market. It's about 13,000 square feet. It offers a place to work, to meet, to host. 40% of our members are actually not based in Washington, D.C. And so for them, it is kind of like their front door to Washington, D.C., physically and in terms of just connectivity. So one is physical space. Two is events. So we host a lot of networking events or networking-oriented events, and those could be a 10-person, very curated roundtable on a specific topic or industry. It could also be a 500-person full-day summit with breakouts and panels and fireside chats. The intent there is make it easier for people to meet the people that they need to meet. And then third, we facilitate educational programming. And so what that actually looks like in practice is classes, crash courses, workshops, lunch and learns that are taught by experts who have built something valuable in Washington, D.C. before and want to scale their expertise and make the knowledge that they have in their brains accessible to more founders or more entrepreneurs or investors. And we complement that with an expert in residence program. So it doesn't just mean that these individuals are teaching a class to a room of 20 people. They also, once a month, come to Station DC for 1 to 3 hours and will just sit at a table and meet with whatever entrepreneurs want to meet with them. And so ultimately, the way that I kind of think about this is we are increasing access to people and information that exists in Washington, D.C. to then improve the odds of like startup and small business and entrepreneurial successes in D.C. And then to answer your question specifically about the physical like place, people want to be a part of something. They want somewhere to go. I think, there's a very big difference between meeting someone on Zoom when both of you are like sending emails on the side versus like showing up and, sitting on a couch and actually like getting to know your counterpart. That increases the probability of like a high quality connection. And DC is a relationship town. And so if we can increase access to more relationships and like make that a little bit more scalable, then there will just be more success that compounds in DC.
Mm-hmm. And before we take questions from the audience, a question from each of our panelists. If a company chooses DC, give 3 steps that you'd recommend to plug into our ecosystem here to build momentum. We'll start down here.
Connect with the university, sign up with their newsletters, whatever the area that's of interest to you. If it's technology, a tech transfer office. If it's not technology, some department, computer science department, art department, anything. Again, a lot of their events are open to the public, and they will welcome you with open arms.
And Tatiana, building on that, where are the most promising partnerships that you see in academia with universities, startups, established institutions?
My team in the technology commercialization space is in the business of building relationships and partnerships and collaborations between different institutions, international organizations, industry and academia, but it also happens with the various other institutes as well. We have a hospital, we have a cancer center, so lots of access to patients, additional follow-on executive education. We have a business school, law center, so lots of opportunities, and same goes for George Washington.
Great, okay.
Of the 3 steps, so I would say the step 1 is you're moving or to DC or you moved here. I think really having your strategic goals of how you're looking to grow here locally and growing internationally in the United States market, of really understanding where you're looking to go and have a strategic plan for that. And as a part of that, who are you looking to connect with? Like as James mentioned before, DC is that relationship town. But one of the beautiful things about DC is that people are willing to help you grow. So be prepared to answer that question if someone asks you, how can I help you now that you're here? Have that answer of the things that are going to help you reach the goals that you set forth for your business. The second part is say really get activated within the city. Go to networking events. Go to the programs that are there. DC Startup and Tech Week. Station DC has many events, I feel like, happening every day or every week. And there's Agora for female founders. There's so many programs that are out there that can really help you achieve to get to the next level. So don't be afraid to go to these programs, network, connect, learn. I think the third piece that I think I found in my entrepreneurial journey is like to always be like a learner, to always have an open mind of how you're willing to expand and grow, and being able to come to these events and programs of how you can really reach that next person and help you grow your business.
So go to DC Startup and Tech Week. They have like 10,000 people. It's insane. Meet a bunch of people.
It's in October?
It's in October 19th.
October 19th to the 23rd.
Okay, DC Chamber is looking forward to partnering.
Yes, we're excited.
And then enroll in Plug and Play's accelerator and do the several week program and learn what you need to do, and then graduate and raise around from K Street, and then hire a bunch of Georgetown students, and then join Station DC.
The power of collaboration.
Yeah, there we go. Like you have you have your 5 steps right there.
Yeah. So as a company that is newly launching an office in DC, I've kind of had to deal with this. I mean, to be fair, I've been located in DC for almost 5 years, so I do know kind of what's going on a bit, but the tech world was a bit newer to me. So as everyone else has said, I think it's really just getting out there and meeting people. I've had conversations with pretty much everyone up here, reaching out to universities. There's a lot going on. Station DC is fantastic. I've been to several of their events, and we are a member there now. But I think it's really just meeting people in person, and everyone is like is very open to meeting with you. There are endless amounts of receptions to go to at night to meet people, and you get people from all over. So there are government people there, but there's also from startups, from companies, especially when it's surrounded by events like SelectUSA or like Modern Day Marine, which was last week, or Sierra Space, which was the week before. Like there are just so many conferences where people come in. A lot of the startups that we have already worked with and have gone through our accelerator programs come to DC, every other month, like people are, it's a constantly like not rotating town, but people are coming in and out. So you can always meet with them in person. And I think those in-person meetings like post-COVID are really, really key.
I'll echo all of that. I'll also say if you're looking to get involved and understand and meet some of the investors, those are long-term relationships. So the sooner you meet them, the better. Like K Street, we do events specifically around that between founders and funders, and connecting fund managers that we've backed to founders that they want to back and that we want to back and other VCs want to back. So like most of our events are half VCs and angel investors, and the other half are like legitimate founders building something interesting here in DC. So we do probably every month or so. And you can go on our website, which is kstreet.vc, or newsletter or LinkedIn, and you'll see them posted all the time. So.
And join a DC Chamber, DC Chamber of Commerce. We offer more than 75 events a year. We have a small business summit on Monday. Simone Williams, who you heard earlier, is the chair of our international committee, and we focus on advocacy and making meaningful connections and showing up in rooms like this, which you all are doing today. The magic happens in these rooms. And so I want to now open it up for any questions from the audience. Yes, sir. Tell us who you are.
Thank you. Gary Williams. I'm from South Africa. We're in the energy industry. So this is a one-stop shop integrated. Yeah, so thanks for the great information. Since DC is not a state, if we set a headquarters here, or if we open an office here, that doesn't mean we're incorporated here, right? I'm just asking the question. You'd incorporate the legal entity you've got various options, or is there an incorporation possibility in DC itself.
Yeah. Does anybody want to take that? You can incorporate right here in Washington D.C. But go ahead.
I was just going to say most startups that we invest in, like they're considered C corps, and we want them to be C corps, and they're Delaware C corps usually, but then they register in DC, like doing business here. So that's how that works. Yeah.
Thanks. Hi, this is Soma Banerjee from India. So also if you could talk about the tax bit also, like you clarified about the Delaware and then, registered here. So in terms of the, international company, when you are registered here, then, you will be paying both the state taxes as well as the federal taxes. So it will be under the Columbia taxes. If you could just clarify that.
I'm not an expert on this, so anybody else can jump in. But I mean, yes, you pay federal tax and you pay DC tax, and it's the same in any state that you're in. You'll pay whatever state's tax is plus your federal tax. Yeah.
My name is Miles. I'm from Philippines, and I'm in the energy sector. I'll be fast forwarding it as a business and entrepreneur. In our country, we're not a startup, but if we go in here, we are a startup. What is, aside from the packages that we've been hearing for the past few days, what are the common pitfalls? The attorney earlier mentioned that 1 year is so fast. And going into that global landing or any soft landing that you mentioned, we know it's very crucial. What are the common pitfalls in the 6 to 12 months of the past who made it? There are success stories, but we also want to know what are the common problems that happen during the 6 to 12 months, and later on, the states will mention to us what's happening now. What are the common that becomes stagnant among those who tried it?
Yeah, I mean, I think outside of the common pitfalls of like any organization, which is focusing on competitors and not focusing on your team, or focusing on external factors and not focusing on your customers, I would say the most common pitfall that I observe is organizations moving to DC and expecting to do business with like federal government's agencies very quickly. Like that is a long process, and it requires like government relations and business development and working with appropriators and working with program managers, and like that's several months. And I think some companies move here and expect to basically run an enterprise sales process selling into the federal government, which is not how it works. And so, like doing the work in advance of moving here and maybe spending 1 week a quarter or a few days every month. Obviously, you're coming from the Philippines, so it's not terribly easy to make that trip. But spend some time here, build your relationships, and maybe even hiring someone in DC in advance of like fully moving here, so you can leverage the existing relationships and knowledge.
I think, DC is a little bit different from other places. I think, Silicon Valley operates in one way and, New York City operates in another way. So I think generally, as James said, having someone here who knows how DC operates is probably really helpful, especially if you're like not even coming from another part of the country, but a whole other country where it's just completely different. I think that's probably something that I would recommend.
Well, that's been a strategy I was going to say that I've seen from a couple of founders who've been attending DC Startup and Tech Week the past couple of years, that they hire, starting off with just contractor roles and, moving to full-time roles of individuals who are locally based here, like in the region, to start doing business development, start doing sales. So that way when they are making the full-time move, they have a pipeline in place, or they have the first couple clients, because the first client is the hardest one to be able to achieve, and they already started building out that pipeline. So I think that was, great advice that James was sharing before, is really starting to kind of think through that strategic plan, but starting now, and what does that look like in your hiring needs before you make that move, so you start to build that pipeline and have a trajectory before you make the full move over here. Thank you.
I am very excited to introduce our panelists here that we have today, members of our Global Soft Landing program. So I'm going to start with Edwige and have her tell you a little bit about the business that she has, and then we'll go right down the line. And if you all just want to introduce yourself and just share a little bit about your business, we'll start there.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Edwige Suge. I'm the founder and CEO of ITS Cybersecurity in AI governance company located here in Washington, D.C. So basically what we do, we help company secure the AI system, making sure that the AI system is auditable, compliant, and secure. And also I'm leading an AI governance academy platform to help startup institution, just to make sure that any AI system they kind of deploying is secure. They have to understand the mechanism of AI governance. So in short, that's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Jote, over to you.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. My name is Jote. I'm co-founder and CEO of Equinox. We are a global entity operating system. We support international expansion from structuring to setup to administration compliance. We had done that for over 8 years on the African continent. For the last 1 year, we're now supporting companies that expand into the US markets with our white glove professional services.
Hello, everybody. My name is Usman. I'm the CEO of Woody Money. Woody is a global neobanking technology platform. To put things in context, think of it like Uber for banking. So with Woody, we convert any shop or store into a bank branch. So you don't need to go to the bank anymore. You can just walk into any store and send money worldwide, get a bank account, get a Visa card, get payment solutions, anything that you would get at a normal bank. Through Woody, you can now get it through your local neighborhood store. The solution is a game changer for areas with a large population of underserved and underbanked. So that's kind of where we're really focusing on. But even in areas like this, it's also relevant. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so, as you can see, a diverse set of businesses here who really are, operating across industries that we've spoken about today. So I'd love to hear from each of you because our folks here have come to DC in the last 18 months. What was the thing that really attracted you to Washington, DC? Why did you choose here to base your US business? Edwige, I'll start with you.
Yeah, when I first landed in the US, I didn't land directly to Washington, D.C. I started in Virginia, coming from France, because Paris is my home country. That's where I was coming from. So when I first landed, I went to Virginia, but like in a couple of months, and I felt that my business was not picking up, especially in AI. AI was, it's still kind of new, especially AI governance, so it was not going as expecting. So I started commuting like every day to go to DC because I knew that that's where all the decisions I taken. So I was going to networking all the time. But one day during my networking event, I met someone from DC Gov, especially from DMPED, like randomly. So we were talking, like when you guys go to a networking, you introduce yourself. I was like, what are you doing? We exchanged. So I was like, yeah, I'm doing AI governance. I would like to relocate to Washington, D.C. because I know that's where the action is. And she was, so we exchanged our business card and so on. She was like, I think I have a program that you might be interested in. And then the next day, she sent me the program. I studied it. I was like, oh, that's the program I needed to do. And then I fill up the form. And yeah, that was it. So I just joined the program and started following. And that's where I ended up here in DC.
Thank you. Jote, I'll turn to you.
Yeah, so my process was slightly different because I came to SelectUSA and started interacting. So I had a checklist that I was running. I went from state to state asking them about, we're a technology-powered professional services business. How do you help us grow? What kind of ecosystem do you have? Community matters to me. It's very important. We needed to find our community, but we also needed to find the infrastructure. So we ran our process. DC, the appeal of DC is because we operate across multiple jurisdictions, it was really important that we find a place where we have a connection to the rest of the world. And Washington, D.C. offers that. With all the embassies being represented here, I can talk to every commercial attaché that supports international business from their embassy here. So that was one. Number two is the infrastructure. D.C. has the complete stack, from physical space to different tiers of capital stack, grants, venture funding, but also community. First thing that we did when we joined was to join all the different chambers. In fact, one of the largest transactions that we are supporting at this point happened through a member of the DC Black Chamber, and it was an introduction from Aisha Bond that put me in touch with an investment bank, and because of that, we're able to raise money for our clients. That is a very strong appeal for us, being able to do that. And then you talk about global capital. The likes of Carlyle Group operate from here because they understand global capital needs to be close to Washington, D.C. for it to be able to move from one jurisdiction to another. And that's the kind of space that we needed. And then last but not least, the people are just great. I mean, from DMPED to the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership to the soft landing space, the Golden Triangle. It's an incredible set of people that are really invested in your success. And a good example of that is we just did a collateral event at SelectUSA, and that would not have been possible without the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership. And because of that, we have now a Rolodex of 160 plus companies that we could potentially support as they expand into the US market. That is business development. That is things I would have paid thousands of dollars for had it not been for the support that Washington, D.C. offers. And this is really their way of showing us that they are invested in our success. And for me, that means a lot.
From my perspective, I think I was shocked when we moved the headquarters of our company from California to DC. And the reason why is because DC is flooded with resource. I don't think of any resource that I can need that I haven't found in 3 or 4 ways in DC. It's ridiculous. Moving from Cali, which said for us to become a $1 billion company, we probably need $50 million. And then coming here, we say, okay, it's probably going to be around $10 million. As of last week, we are $200,000, and we haven't raised anything from investors. How do we do that? It's resource. You need something, you ask, you have 4 or 5 people that give you solutions you didn't even think about. And like Jyote said, they are invested in your success. We have bi-weekly meetings with the DMPED. These are highly skilled people with a lot of knowledge, expertise, that give it to you for free. I mean, when you raise money, why do you raise money? Is to do something with it, right? Maybe hire people or, buy inventory and things like that. In DC, you can achieve what you need to achieve with the money you will raise without raising any money, without giving away your company. So for me, it's complete game changer. And I didn't know that coming into DC. Coming into DC, the idea was, okay, we're going to be 2-3 hours away from our clients in New York, and I don't have to take the red-eye flight anymore from California to DC. And now I'm here. I don't even understand how startups here are so spoiled. I'm telling you, they are so spoiled because you don't need to go look for the clients. The client is here, You can just stay in your office. This is what we do right now. We stay in the office, wake up in the morning, look at the emails. Oh, you have to go to this event, you have to speak here, you have to do this. It's so many things. And regulatory speaking as well, I mean, all the regulators are here. SEC, we work in finance, so SEC right there, and they all have office hours. When I say office hours, you have a problem, you go to them. Just sorry, 2 days ago we were at Power Up DC conference, and I was a guest speaker. I was walking into the room, and I saw people from the IRS. And I told them, well, can we run our new software through you? They gave me the card. They say, yeah, we have office hours. I mean, there's no other place in the world where you can get that. So, yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was actually going to be my next question to you is how does the physical space here in the Golden Triangle help your business? So Usman, I was thinking particularly of you and some of your meetings with the World Bank, just the proximity, if you could speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, the World Bank spring meetings were, I think, 2 weeks ago. All the head of countries attend the meetings, head of states, ministry officials. I met some people from Tanzania, and last week I was in Tanzania to look at the opportunities to expand there. And the thing about this is every week you have an event, a global event. Either, or the head offices are here, Visa, World Bank, Google, I mean, they're all here. So because of that, every week you have opportunities to network, you have events that you can attend, and you are meeting the decision makers. That's also one of the biggest challenge, right? Like we're going to join the World, I forgot the name of this division within the World Bank IFC, but they basically connect central banks with different organizations. And I didn't even know that organization existed, right? So DC is flooded with opportunities to grow your business without having to go out and raise millions of dollars.
And speaking of opportunities to grow your business, I think a lot of you heard us talk earlier today about some of our grants and incentives that we have to be able to help support your growth. And one of those is the Growth Fund, of which both Equinox and Adwisha's company have received. I would wonder if you just want to talk a little bit about your experience with that program and then what that funding has allowed you to be able to do.
Yeah. As I was telling, coming to DC was one of the kind of the greatest decision I've taken so far in terms of my business, because that's even no-brainer. When I decided to come here through the soft lending program, not only the space the company occupy now here in the Golden Triangle area, which is like a prime location. On my own, I don't know how I could have found like such a better place. Like we are located in front, like across from the World Bank. Not only that, that's like a good choice, and it was a good choice I made. So regarding the growth fund we got, being in DC, so certainly you're gonna be meeting like a lot of investors and so on, but you also meet come across a program like the Growth Fund. I was fortunate enough to get awarded of that funding, and I just can tell you how much difference it did in my business. I was able to hire more people. Like in the beginning, before the Growth Fund, we were like 3 people. Now we are like a team of 10 people. So with the Growth Fund, I was able to kind of expand and my business, like my operation kind of multiply. So those are kind of the benefit of getting the Growth Fund.
Yeah, the Growth Fund for us was also a game changer. It's equity free, paid up front, and no grant facility does that. But that allows us the flexibility to actually move around and do business development. And as a result, we've been able to generate in revenues almost 7 times the amount that we were given in grants. And that means jobs, that means taxes. This is an incredible opportunity for us. This is like a seed they put in the ground. and this is what I'm talking about, the capital stack that they talk of. It's the grant facilities, it's the incentives with the Vitality Fund, and it's the, you heard from Paige earlier from K Street Capital, they have a fund of funds which crowds in a lot of venture funding into the district for companies that are operating from here. So what I'm saying is the Growth Fund has been an incredible facility, and my experience was, here's a grant facility that really is invested in making sure that you succeed. And it started before I even applied. I did not know about the fund. I was told by DC that there is a fund called the Growth Fund. Should I need it, I should apply. And I didn't know my way around the program, the funding application. They had resources that could help me package what I had so that it's accepted for the grant application. And get this, we had a Delaware incorporation. We didn't have a DC business license. It was part of the compliance requirement. So we received a conditional award, and they allowed us time to actually do the DC registration, Office of Tax and Revenue, certificate of clean hand, and all that. I mean, I have worked with grants in another job, in another life. I have not seen such a accommodating grant facility and grants team overall in terms of how it's organized. So the Growth Fund, incredible resource, but it's part of a larger capital stack that DC operates. For us, it has literally meant new revenues as a result of the grants coming in and us being able to do business development.
Excellent. And Edwige, as we talk about DC being an international city, I know that some of the opportunities that you've had expand beyond DC as you've been on trade missions. Can you speak a little bit about some of those partnerships that have allowed you to go even beyond DC's borders and into places like the Middle East?
As I was telling you, that's the power of DC. Because being in Virginia or being in France, I don't know how I could have done that. That's the power of DC. That's the power of connection. That's the power of networking. So my first, as I was saying, my first business trade mission I got was with the Black Chamber of Commerce. So we went to the Middle East. That's the opportunity. I was like in a networking. I just heard, oh, there's a trade mission going on. Do you want to go? I saw the opportunity. It was on AI. I was like, oh, let's go. So we kind of fill out the form, and before you know, we were in the Middle East, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, just to share and to sell the DC experience, the DC excellence in terms of technology. So being in DC put you in a global stage. It gives you a competitive edge in the world stage, so it's not comparable. So I can share my experience, my business experience, my technicality, what I know through the trade mission and everything. And that exposure is because I'm in DC. That's why, as Osman was saying, you can just stay in the office. You just have to check your email. And that's the power of networking. You're going to be, that's an opportunity open. Do you want to go? That's how it happens. And I've been going, when that first opportunity opened, going to the Middle East, the rest was history. It kept coming, it kept going. And that's how you met people. That's how you have a business opportunity. You can meet, I have now a lot of partnership. To share my AI governance, because that's my field. I'm able to share that with every other country. And maybe you were not aware, even in France now, my home country, now that, because over there they know that I'm located in Washington DC, so I've been contacted by people over there asking me about questions, and now I'm kind of one of the pipeline. They're going through me. Like recently, yesterday, the French government kind of give one of our initiative here in Washington DC. I've been part of. They call La French Tech. That's like La French Tech is like helping other companies from France to relocate here. And that's opportunity. Once again, if I was in Virginia, I wouldn't have known about that. That's how it happens.
Absolutely. And Usman, back over to you. You hold the record for the fastest turnaround on the soft landing program. So we toured the space, I think, on Friday. You applied, and by Monday, he had moved in. And so I want you to just to talk a little bit about what that experience was like. And as you've kind of been in the soft landing program the last couple of months, what are some of the things that have kind of helped you grow your business?
Yeah, thank you. And I think the reason why it's because we were in contact before by different institutions that work with the DMPED. I think the DISP is one of them. So we kind of did our homework ahead of time. Before coming to DC, we were already 70% sold. We just wanted to make sure that, the assumptions are correct. So that's kind of how it worked. And again, they are very professional. They know exactly what you need. They do their own research on your industry. So they're not just looking at, I think if you guys were invited, they didn't just randomly pick you. They did a lot of research. So they know that once you're here, there will be some benefit for you being here. So all those boxes were checked. And when we need something, we just need to ask the question. And we have 5, 6 different ways to do it. There's an expensive way, there's a free way. You choose whichever way you want. So that's kind of how we as long as you're good at execution, I don't see how you can fail in DC. That's kind of my idea.
And speaking of kind of that execution, I'd love to hear from each of you just what you kind of see as your next steps here in DC. What do you hope to see for your business over the next year? And how does either being located in DC or some of the resources that the soft landing program provide play into that journey for you? And feel free, whoever wants to jump in first.
Maybe let me go and then we continue. So for us, the largest business client in the world is the US government. And being a native or local DC-based company, you have priority on government contracts. And there are some contracts that the rest of the world cannot even see unless you are based in DC. So our next wave is to focus on those government contracts. We've got a long list of things to do. I think we have our hands full for the next 2 years. So it's just about execution on the pipeline of projects coming more specifically toward the US government contracts. So these are generally 5-year contracts. You are guaranteed for 5 years and a lot of other perks. When you're a DC-based company, you have priority and you have access to some contracts that many other companies don't.
So for me, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in DC, especially because as I was telling, I'm in the AI governance space, a highly regulated field. So I have to be here because the city is where all the decisions are made. So since that's where all the decisions are made, I have to be near the decision maker, the policy makers, all the big tank, the think tank in terms of regulation, they all here. So I'm going to continue kind of working with them, working with institutions, working with the government, and also my initiative, which is the AI Governance Academy, helping like the startups, institution, and organization implement the AI system safely, the AI that can be auditable and compliant. And the only where that can be done is here in DC, just to be close to those decision makers to help me kind of build that project.
I think what I would like to see, perhaps for us, would be that we get plugged into the community a bit more, and that we become so the startup community is vibrant, but it's not as vibrant as I would like it to be. I think we can do a lot more in terms of making sure that there is a lot of collaboration and conversation and people sharing their experiences. I was in San Francisco the other week. It was I was there during Climate Week, so it was really busy. Even then, like a random stranger would just hear your idea and point you to, oh, you should meet this person. I think DC is a bit reserved in that. Is that there is still that. You see, I came to a DC event and I thought maybe I put on a tie. It's Washington DC, right? But I think there's some things that we could do to improve conversations around the community. I have been a beneficiary of the community, but it has always meant that I went out, sought out the help that I needed. So a lot more community activity, especially focused on the startups and the service providers and the investors that support the startups. I think that would be one thing I would double down on in Washington, D.C.
Great. And then one last question for all of you before we turn it over to some questions from the audience. But what's one piece of quick advice if you could talk to the folks who are in the audience today who were you maybe a year or 18 months ago? What would you tell them?
Tell them in terms of...
what advice would you give?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best advice I would have told you is just came to DC and build relationship. I mean, that's like invaluable because that by building relationship, it's not going to be, I'm not going to lie, it's not going to be overnight. It takes time. So you have just to show up, going to the networking event. That's how you build them. Like that's how people trust you. They see you all the time, but you have to be here. You have to show up, keep showing up, be consistent, and going there. That's the only way you're gonna have like opportunity. You're not gonna have an area where you have like a notice like, oh yeah, there's a business here. No, you will never gonna find that. It's just building the relationship. That's number one. I mean, you can, even before the capital is number one, because once you have the relationship, everything else, opportunity is going to open.
I'm going to agree with you, Hedwig. I think we invest in relationship. That's the most important thing you can invest in. Since SelectUSA and since being accepted to the soft landing space, because we didn't really figure out the initial hiring, I traveled 7 times over the last 10 months to Washington, D.C. from Kenya. Those are long flights that I had to take. Why? It's expensive, but the relationships were really, really important. An investor won't trust you just because you had a Zoom call with them. They needed to see you, feel your energy, and get a sense for what kind of character you have. The same with clients. The same with commercial partners. So invest in relationships. Get to know them. Ask questions. There's no wrong question to ask. So build on those relationships. Long term, it will have dividend. And where you can help, offer help, and follow through on what you committed to do.
I totally agree with you. I think one of the things I go by is if I were to choose between money, knowledge, and connection, I would choose connection 10 times over. And the reason is because with connection, I can have the knowledge and all the money I need. And that's what DC it's about. It's about connection. There's a term here. You have been, what's the word? You have been informed. You will hear that a lot in DC. People say you have been informed. What it means is that what the information they give you, not everybody has it, so you better use that. And that's what this is about. So, and another thing is, when you come here, there are many ways to accomplish things. For example, when we were establishing the business, we had different ways. The first option we had was going to cost us around $8,000, but we kept digging and we found a solution that cost us less than $1,000, right? We already have our business license and everything. So be curious. People are not going to necessarily give you the information, but when you need something, ask around, and people would never hide that information from you. It feels like they are required by law to give you the info. I don't really know why, but that's kind of how it feels like. So as long as you're willing to ask, you will have the answer.
And thank you very much. And with that, we've got time for just 2 or 3 questions. Any questions from the audience?
Thank you. I'm from Global Investment Council. Thank you for your wonderful sharing. And I'm curious about now that you can connect your different resources in DC, how we reach out such kind of event. Yeah, could you share with some information about that and your own experience? Thank you. Because I would introduce perhaps similar enterprises to DC from such kind of path. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take that. I think the how is really connecting with folks like CAD and K Street Capital, and everyone has an event going. I think plug into those, make sure that they're not going into spam. Sign up and go to these events, right? The co-working space that we work from, the studio, is an incredible platform also. There's a lot of founders in that space. There's consultants, people that come in and out. I think, and then we also have networking hours. Those are incredible resources for people to actually network with. But I've received emails from the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership, from DMPED, from K Street Capital, from Startup DC. There is so many things that you can be a part of. I think you'll be spoiled for choice. And those are opportunities for introducing yourself and plugging yourself in the community.
Thank you. I'll keep it short. You mentioned spending time here. So initially, is a week, a month sufficient to get started?
I mean, you're not going to spend like just a month and go back to your country for 6 months and coming back. I mean, when I say you can just come like, it's the same thing like me when I was traveling like to the Middle East to expand, because I've been doing that too, like kind of to share the Washington DC savoir-faire and in abroad. So when you go there, you don't have to stay a month. Even you can just go. You just have to choose where you're going. You just have to choose like big events. Like in DC, we always have like big events. That's where you can capitalize, because that's where you can meet a lot of people in one event and just share your contact and everything. And the follow-up can be done via Zoom call or whatever. But the initial contact you already have physically with the person during those big events. So for me, I will say, since you're here, just through the resources like Soft Landing Program or the Washington DC Economic Partnership, just take this research, just kind of pinpoint the event you're going to be coming. SelectUSA is one of the biggest one, but we have more. We have like DC Startup Week event that's coming to sign up on that, and then just reassemble all the contact you're going to have and follow up. And I'm telling you, it works. Once they see you once, and the next follow-up via Zoom call of Teams, it works. That's how I do it, and it's working.
I think having a permanent presence here is important, but permanent doesn't mean Gary here all the time. So what Washington, D.C. did for us is actually connect us with a business development resource who's always here. That person was always making the calls and the emails on our behalf, working our list, which meant every time I'm in town, I'm taking 3 meetings a day. I'm getting on conference calls, and these are warm intros in most instances. So find a way to have a permanent presence here before you have a fully operational team or office. Your presence is going to be required. Like she said, you can't come 1 month and then disappear for 6 months. For me, it was, especially this year, I was here 2 weeks out of a month. It's just what it required.
Roughly 1 week a month, every month, continuous.
Yeah, for me it was 2 weeks. 2 weeks exactly. For me it was 2 weeks out of a month. Yes, because my body also has to adjust. Right, I come in, there's jet lag. First couple of days I'm useless, and then when I'm at my peak is when I actually start to leave. So I have to manage my own circadian rhythm. Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, one last question here.
Thank you for your valuable time today. I'm Park Jang, the CEO of Token Asians. I'm from the South Korea. I'm really thank you for your valuable explanation and your experience. But you several times mentioned that you maybe joined some of the events is a good, but I feel that some of there are events, lots of the people are going there. So I don't want to actually waste time. So sometimes I research in South Korea. There are lots of venture capital in United States. How to the effective way to the contact? Because you mentioned that several meetings. I went to several meetings, one day, but it is impossible because I don't want to the cold call. There is no feedback. So how to use an effective approach to contact them?
Maybe I can take this. There are, I think there are few key body organizations in DC. DMPED is, I think, the most connected from my experience. So if you know somebody there already, they can route you. It's more about guidance, right? The DC Chamber of Commerce, the president CEO is right there. Black Chamber of Commerce, Latino Chamber of Commerce. There are about 5 different chambers of commerce in DC. There's a small business administration office for business development. So just by talking to these folks, there's also the DISB. Just by talking to these folks and being very clear about what you're looking for, you would for sure have the answer. The thing is there are too many opportunities. Like you say, you go to an event, it's everything everywhere. So you have to know exactly what you want and be vocal about it so that people can tell you, okay, go here, don't go there, go there. Otherwise, you would just, be like a kid in a candy shop.
Wonderful. And with that, thank you so much to our panel. Yeah, we'll wrap there.